Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Zwift Me Live broadcast of the Zwift Racing League presented by WTRL. We are into season number 3 of the 2021-22 season. Or excuse me, what are we saying here? We are into... How does that work again?
I think you got it, more or less.
I think I got it. Yeah. I mean, you say season twice, and you're like, interesting. Anyways.
I now want to eliminate the 21 part of
just
it
let 21 go.
right?
I know, actually, I was thinking that in the back of my head. Like, Dave's thinking, stop saying 21 right now, Nathan. Anyways, back in with, here we are, TTT Day. We're in race number 2. We're out on the Greater London Flat course. This is about as fast as it gets of a course. There's a couple of little bumps in here, but I think this is just a pure power speed course. You're not going to be thinking a whole lot of climbing. You're going to be thinking about keeping the team together, more on how well of an oiled machine you are when it comes to really keeping that pace line, figuring out whose turn it is at the right times, and putting the most horsepower on the front, Dave.
I agree, Nathan. Really, it's about you reap what you sow in team time trialing, and these teams will benefit. So rather than really focusing on the fitness and ability as far as the athleticism, this is going to be, have you practiced at the team time trial? Is your team well drilled? Because it's going to come down to exactly that, this unique discipline. This is what the WTRL is all about. This is what's their signature event. I mean, help me out, but we're almost up to 160 consecutive weeks of racing on Thursdays. The teams that have been showing up, I think you're going to see them shine today.
Yeah, and we'll see what kind of, at least where things are standing and how these teams are going to match up against each other in the difference between a scratch race versus a team time trial, right? Last week we had a scratch race on a very difficult course that really blew things up. Today you get to see what the cohesion is, what's more of the pure speed, what's more of this, what this discipline brings to the genre of virtual racing action. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at the course. We are out on the Greater London Flat, 28.99 kilometers, 18 miles, only 104 meters of climbing. That's 341 feet. They'll be heading out from the start pens on through a flatter section of course along the River Thames, and then they'll be bumping up over toward that Classique course, but they're not going to do the full Classique. They're actually going to go around the backside of London with that little bit of an addition that was added to London to finish things up out back onto the mall and sprint to the finish. So going to be an interesting course out there. Cy Bradley's going to take us through his little bit of a course recon and let us know what it's all about.
Welcome to London for stage 2 of the Zwift Racing League. It's a team time trial and it's on the Greater London Flat. One of the fastest courses in game for team time trialing. 28.9 kilometers, just 150 meters of elevation on this one. 3 power-ups to look at here. We've got the aero, the draft and the feather, and it's all about communication when utilizing those power-ups as a team. We've got a long lead-in, just over 5 kilometers, and it's in that lead-in at kilometer 3.5 that we have the biggest challenge, the longest drag and incline in this course. It's 800 meters long, 5% maximum gradient. You're going to need 6 riders if you want to top that table and set some fastest times. So get all 6 riders up that climb if possible. You're going to pick up another power up when you go through the start-finish banner properly here on the red roads of the mile, and then again at the start of lap 2. Team time trial is all about maintaining speed, keeping the pace on the front as high as possible at all times. Stay efficient, have fun, and ride on. Right, let's go find somewhere to watch this race.
Doesn't look like it's raining currently out on the streets of London. A little wet, though, when Cy was doing his course recon record. Make sure to head on over to Cy Bradley's channel over on YouTube. He does a great job with the course recons. A little bit longer form of that if you do want to find them prior to each Zwift Racing League race. He does a great job on them. About 10 minutes or so. We really appreciate him bumping this up into the front end of our broadcast, though. Now, as riders get out on course here, I do want to chat a little bit about where things stand, though, across the races that we are going to be covering. So let's go ahead and take a quick look as to where they're at. We'll just have a quick little chat to the top 2 to 3, though, and show everybody, though, where things are at across all of the categories. So amongst the women here, it is going to be at the top, Dave, Aeonian RT versus King Esports versus Beast Mode. I think Abos Lacole as well as Wahoo Lacole are really going to be part of that conversation though as well. It's just, when it came to the points at the end of the day, the stronger teams last week were going to be that Canadian Sports Aeonian RT.
It was a unique week of racing. There were no bonuses along the way. It was pretty much just a pure scratch race to the finish line. And so this is 1 week in, right? This is a good litmus test to where things stand. And no surprise to see Aeonian up on top or Canyon Beta right there. But we've got a long way to go. And certainly, as we talked about, team time trialing, completely different discipline. I would expect to see a little bit of reshuffling. And again, season just getting going right now. So we've got a big hit out coming our way in London with this 30 kilometers of racing. And if Aeonian now goes back to back, Nathan, all of a sudden it's really a different story because it starts to tell you that they're firing on all cylinders out here. But that's certainly a long way from being done and dusted. It's Canyon Esports Beta. This team is filled with talent. Beast Mode, it's a German squad, and they are well drilled. That's a team that's done their work. Certainly, you could say the same thing about Wahoo Lacole, Nathan. So this is a good look at the teams that are going to be in the mix out here today. Always competitive in the EMEA Central. This is one of our top divisions without any doubt.
Yeah, if you want to talk about right there with the Premier Division level, a lot of these ladies were in there or are looking toward that kind of a level. In the B category for EMEA Central, Div 1, it will be Rave Firestarter at the top right now, R3R Bewitched, and then Coalition Equinox, Biting at the Heel, VCRT, Revo Snickers, Vegan Fruit Bats, and then Cryogen Crow Fear. And then in the C category, Dave, always a very welcome amongst this, this time zone. They're getting up early, the HDRL Crank Crushers. Always ones to be watching out for. But Galaxy Supernova Blast, they're always in the TTT on Thursdays, that Galaxy Supernova team, and one to watch out for the time trial. So I would be keeping an eye on whether or not they're going to try and take over that top spot today.
I would even say they're specialists in the team time trial, Nathan, talking about the team sitting in second there. But the same thing could be said about the Australians. You make a good point. It's early in the morning there, early in the morning tomorrow from the North American perspective. But these women are top notch. I mean, talk about true blue. And they are going to be living up to that Crank Crushers moniker here. And what a great way to start your day, Nathan. Go out, win a team time trial. Get it on. So it's let's go. I'm sure they're saying Watt Fabric, Kiss My Back Wheel is a team that's certainly going to be looking to climb the table today, Nathan, with the team time trial. The point structure is top team will get 20 points, 19 per second. It's hard to move up the table. It's more about being consistent, and certainly a lot like golf, right? You just can't afford to have a double bogey. You take par every time, and certainly a top three ride for any of those teams in the top three is going to be acceptable today. What team is really going to shine? That's the question. That's our women's C's, and you never know who's going to come out of the woodwork.
And then in the D category, it is going to be the Swedish Swifters, SAF, and then it's going to be Team NL Ladies there for the D category. WTRL Dinos are out there as well in third place currently in the Central Div 1D. Rue Riders Wild Ones, Revo Rivals, and the Betty Squad D. Didn't show last week, it looks like. Too bad to see. Maybe we'll see them out there today, either in the results or maybe we can catch them in a few of the live images. Well, let's talk about the live images. Let's get right down onto course as we do have our current leaders in the Central Division. The women, Daniela Strate at the front, Aeonian, they're 4.3 kilometers in, Dave, and that is a name to watch out for when it comes to holding down the top spot in this division.
Yeah, American Olympian Ariel Verhaeren is on this team as well, racing out of Salt Lake City in Utah, here in the Rocky Mountains. This is such a strong team. They don't have a weak link. Femke de Zee is there from Holland. Kristen Jacks is an American on this Aeonian team. Sabrina Curtil is another French rider. I apologize, Sabrina. And then Wendy Matthey making up Aeonian out here. Nathan, this is a team that's had success, I would say, season 2 of this current batch of seasons, this 2022 block that we're in. This is season 3. It's actually the 6th season of racing. We don't need to go any deeper into that because what you need to know is we're at the start of really a whole new era of community racing now, and it's because we have such talent like Daniela Estrate coming from Premier. And Premier is going to be restarting again in a whole new format. Super excited about knockout racing starting on the 20th. So that's just a week and a day away. So stay tuned for more information about that. But Aeonian is a team, they've been perennial, not contenders, Nathan, powerhouse squad, and they're going to be really, really tough to beat out of this. This is Division 1A for EMEA Central. This is the creme de la creme. So Canyon Esports Beta, they've got a real fight on their hand, and no one's going to give anything to the Aeonian ladies out here. But let's see if they shine again out here today.
Yeah, and as you can see, the current markers out on course that we will be taking times at will be the 6 kilometer, 14 kilometer, and the 22 kilometer marker. You can also see in the little boards on the left-hand side there for our splits, 25.1 to go for Aeonian RT. You can then see for each one of the teams that are on the leaderboards there how far they have to go across the course right now. 25K to go, 5.8K in at the 6K marker. Right around here, we will be getting the first split for Aeonian. We'll go ahead and wait for that to come in before we check back in with our current series leaders in this Central Division 1A. Moving on back to Fleece, though, from that beta team, Canyon beta team, this is some of those up-and-comers, I think, when it comes to the top level. But, you know, I think they're starting to shine a little bit and peek their head above ground when it comes to being, at least, you know, what I would say, though, when it comes to this team, their specialty, in my opinion, is more of a points and sprinter type situation. We'll see if they can prove me wrong, though, out here today.
I've loved seeing a rider on this team, Philippa Draper, really come into her own. I mean, do you want to talk about gold medal DNA? This is a young rider who has real life potential, Nathan. So watch out for her. She's been on this team now for, I'm going to say, more than a year. This is the team that has Sammy Stewart on it. She's a cornerstone rider, absolutely a force to be reckoned with. So this is why I'm not saying, oh my gosh, Aeonian, you know, you're giving them that 20-1 odds. Well, this team has so much talent. If they can put it together, which there's no reason to bet against them. The Canadian here, Amanda Argue, A squared, what a talent she is. Agata Flies is the Polish rider. Kimberley Riedman on the team racing out of New Zealand. Amber Lecomte is the Belgian on the squad. And the only rider I'm leaving out is a legend, Siri Hildenen, Nathan, the Norwegian, who's an esports legacy rider.
Yeah, I would think that Siri perhaps out there today de-essing, as I'm not seeing her currently in and amongst them. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're taking her experience. Well, no, not at all. I mean, she's a part of the team, right? I mean, a huge part of the team. The DS, if you want to speak to that a little bit, Dave, is probably the most important part of the team, I would think.
Yeah, one of the things, so it's interesting, right? And I honestly look at you this way, Nathan. As a great teammate, you take a lot of pressure off of me. Well, same thing in this situation. A great director sportif, it allows the riders to trust. The process then plays out. Let the game play instead of having to constantly think about, are we doing the right thing? That's someone else's job. You just do your job, right? How much easier is that, Nathan? You've been in all the different scenarios on a team time trial team. When you've got a competent director, it just lets you pedal the bike, focus on your nutrition and hydration, and just do your jam, right? We're not asking you to juggle and play soccer.
Well, I mean, you're talking about the DSs, right? Not my job.
Yes. Well, if you're a rider, right?
I'm just messing with you, Dave. I'm totally messing with you, Dave.
Right.
So,
well, you're right.
As we get through here, the first times are coming in. I see orange numbers here coming from Schumann up into 8 watts per kilogram for a moment, and I think that might also speak to the times we see coming through here. 8:36 from Rose Beast Mode presented by Rose right now.
Yikes.
That is a full 13 seconds over Aeonian RT, and Canyon Esports falling back there at 8:55. Beast Mode have shown up as animals today, that's for sure.
Well, and so, Nathan, the analogy, right, of a good or great team time trial team, it isn't a mixture of diverse athletes that have a wide array of talents, a climber, a sprinter, a rouleurs, role players, lead out riders, closers. It's about having 5 very strong, very similar riders, or 6 actually in this case. I'm using a little. So we start with 6. Time taken off of the 4th wheel at the line. Nathan, this might be the perfect team time trial squad that we're looking at. I mean, look at this mix of riders here. You've got Marla Marv, who also has the experience on this team. And then, I mean, it is just outstanding rider. Just keep checking that box next to these names. Cindy Friebel, Dana Wagner, Eva Maria Dorer, Gabrielle Schumann. And Gabrielle's in Germany. She has a Brazilian flag next to her name, which is extremely cool. We know a few Brazilians, Nathan, that live over in Europe. I'm thinking of Debbie Rodriguez as well, although she's in Belgium, but same, close. Not the same at all, but close. And Lisa Krom here, also talking about these beast mode presented by Rose Riders. When you look at it, Nathan, Eleanor Weissman is on this team, correct? I want to make sure I've got it right here because Eleanor is a talent racing out of Belgium. And so I'll confirm that. But this is, again, Rose Beast Mode here. So these 3 teams, 3 very strong squads, create that interesting Chinese checkers dynamic. It's even more than that, to tell you the truth. And we're going to look at these splits coming in. But there is not one team that you look at as a massive favorite. There's not even 2 teams that you look at as separating themselves from the rest of the field. It really is this great situation of high-level parity. That's what makes the Premier League or the NFL so awesome, is that you never know who's going to win, who's going to have the great day. Wahoo Lacole, they've got a good time up on the board, Nathan, putting it 8:47 up. That's 2 seconds quicker than Aeonian here. That's a great start. Not as great as Rose Beast Mode. Rose is a bike shop in Germany. Beast Mode is the team. And these women, it's men and women, and it's a movement. Let me tell you, Germany has been coming on strong at 8:36. Ooh la la. I don't know how you say ooh la la in German. Maybe ooh la la, but wow. I mean, that's really, really impressive when you think about what that Aeonian team brings to the table. We still haven't even seen team times coming through from Abus, Lacole, Kirkmeyer, the women's development team. You can pull development right out of there, I think. They're fully on the top level when you talk about every Kirkmeyer squad that you've got racing in Division 1. Ray Vaughn, Swedish Swifters still waiting. Such a fun day of team time trialing. Everybody out on lap 1. It's just under 29K of racing. Vicky Nealon here, Nathan. There's a talent that you found out of the United Kingdom. She's one of the experienced riders who's got megawatts.
Yeah, actually, the fact that Vicky Nealon is riding for this team is a pickup coming over from the Heino squad. Interesting enough. So Nealon really, in addition, is as soon as I saw that name actually and saw the time coming in from Beast Mode being, I mean, it's a solid time, but the reality of only 11 seconds between the kind of experience that we have in a rider like Vic Nealon with the power behind her of some of these up and coming Wahoo Lacole ladies. I mean, Wahoo Lacole not even up and coming at this point, obviously dominating at the top level amongst the Premier Division.
Yeah, but I get you.
But adding Vicky here and then being a part of the community and probably spreading the Wahoo Lacole team out a little bit from the Premier Division into this, I have a feeling that kind of leadership and power mixing amongst some of these newer to the Zwift world of racing, thinking Coralie Arthur obviously has proven herself in the last year, but not the kind of depth of time on the platform as we see with Vicky Nealon. So I watch out for the later half of this race where Beast Mode maybe went out a little bit strong. We'll see if they can continue on with that kind of a pace or not. And then sitting right in the middle of that, we've got Team Swedish Swifter Sin coming in with 3 seconds faster than Wahoo Lacole. So really have a race on our hands here that's very close. Loving to see this.
It's Nathan. When you focus on those top 3 teams from last week, and last week started this season, it was really a straight up bike race. What's different about ZRL is that it's points based and it's team based. So it's not just about winning the race; it's the points that are distributed much deeper than that. So every rider really does play a role out there. Well, we could very easily see a team upset the apple cart out here today. I mean, this the Swedish Swifting team. I mean, that's what I love about Division One here in Europe is just the amount of talent. Cornelia Engstrom, there's a name that should certainly ring. I mean, every one of these names as well has experience, talent, desire, organization. I mean, they don't miss a step here. You can see Cornelia, Jennifer Gothlander, Malin Kegstrom, Nelly Larsson, Sarah London, and Danelle making up that Swedish Swifters team. But we're going to jump back in here with the images. This is going to be Wahoo Lacole that we're looking at. They were fourth place last week, hence the 17 points. It's going to be really interesting to see what it looks like after this second week of racing out here. Let's take a look at this entire Wahoo Lacole team, though, because they're obviously going to be a force to be reckoned with. I'm having a feeling that Eleanor Weissman is there she is. Okay, that makes more sense. I'm working a little bit off of Zwift Power here, folks. That explains she's got her Sarah Snowpins listing up there, but she's with Wahoo Lacole here today, as is
No, I think
Adele.
Weissman right here. I just jumped in with her. She's in with Abus Lacole, actually.
She's with Abus Lacole.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. All right. The long twisting path to figuring out what team she's on for me here today. It's finally ended. We found the gold at the end of the rainbow. Okay, but let's go then to Abus Lacole while you have them here, because this Finnish rider has become quite a phenomenon. Laura Venopa she's got Julie Chalet, who certainly is a next level rider, Nathan. I think she really impressed everyone with what she's been doing out here. Let's get back to Julie in just a second. She's one of the three Germans here. Sandy and Bonnie Delanotte is the other rider. But Nathan, Julie looks like she's going to be one of the breakthrough riders of this season to me. What are your thoughts there?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I think that she's taking on a role of leadership here right now, just through pure power of watts that's being thrown down into the bike right now. But the team is looking to try and hang on to the wheel, because we saw Chalet off the front over and over again. She was our 5K to go hero, actually, last week. This week, we're going to do a 5K to go hero for teams, just as a heads up. It's going to be an entire team that we will call out rather than a solo rider. But
look at this.
Looking through, Zedson Hurd. Now wait a second, Zedson Hurd. This is an amalgamation team. You put two super teams together, and what do you end up with here?
Well. This is a fine how do you do. As for all intents and purposes, this is the new premier in open wheel racing out here. Zedson R. Hurd. So let's take a look at what we've got, because they are absolutely flying. So Beast Mode has that quickest time at that first check. Again, 6:14 and 22K. Swedish Zwifters there. SZ Sin. I think that one really turns your head. As Wahoo Lacole, they're in with an 8:47. It's that 8:44 there. It's only 8 seconds back, and we'll see. Now, there's no reason to think that Beast Mode set a pace they can't sustain. That team has experience, but this one's going to turn into an absolute Donnybrook. It's going to be bedlam out here in London today over these 2+ laps. So Aeonian now in with an 8:49. That's only 2 seconds out of third. Hurd, 8:50, Nathan. 8:50 the time. 1 second behind Aeonian, which is a gold standard team. Canyon Esports right there with an 8:55. Abus Lacole, the Flames, in a 9:05, 1 second quicker than Coalition Rhapsody. Ravon with a 9:17, 9:21 in this very, very competitive Europe Division 1A Women, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And so let me get BBB Racing there. I see that they have a 9:21. We're going to start looking at checks coming in pretty quickly. As you can see, this team, Hurd Zedson R, is already 13K in, so rapidly coming up on the middle part of this race here. This team has 6 riders together. They are on the gas right now. We saw them just make a pass back there. Let's see if their split moves them up the leaderboard here, Nathan.
Yeah, I'm actually really impressed by how this team is riding right now, and where they've brought together two of our kind of mega teams when it comes to, for those that watch Premier Division mainly, they're not maybe why are you getting so excited about this Hurd Zedson duo here. Well, these are two teams that have been doing the team time trial for as long as I can remember. And Zedsun, probably one of the largest teams in the world of team time trialing, if not the largest. And Herd as well. They have such a selection to pull from. And that's why I'm kind of going, whoa, where did this come from? Who have they brought together here? And pulling an 850 amongst probably the strongest. I'm going to be careful here, but I'm going to step out a little bit and say maybe when it comes to what we've got here without a Premier Division this season outside of the knockouts, that maybe pulling in some of the strongest women across all of the EMEA is going to be this central. I would say perhaps, and that they would be pulling that 850, only 24 seconds off what currently the leaders are. Very interesting to see. And catching that early, they're already catching those ahead of them. They've really shown up for this TTT, and I think they're showing us why Herd and Zedsun are perennial, are weekly dominate in the TTT on Thursdays.
It'd be interesting to look at. So this is a tried and true course that we're racing on here in London, to go back and see what kind of, so we were talking about Heino earlier, and Heino was the most dominant force if you looked at the body of work throughout the first 5 seasons of ZRL on the women's premier side. They won more than 90% of the races that they contested. It's quite unreal, to tell you the truth. Now, Vicky Nealon, who we were commenting on earlier, she's one of the riders from Heino. Nathan, I'd be curious to see what our winning time looks like compared to a solid Heino ride out here. Yeah, pack dynamics have changed a little bit. It's actually a little bit harder to get faster these days out here. Listening, that's a Nathan question, above my pay grade, to tell you the truth. But I would say, actually, it's not above my pay grade, but that's a Nathan question, I should say. But it is a little bit harder to go faster these days, just because of the constant tweaking and reinforcing, really, of how the user experience is racing on Zwift. And part of that has made it a little bit harder in a team time trial to get faster out here. But this is a team that figured out one way to do that. This is like in the Premier League, combining Manchester and Manchester City or something, right? Taking 2 super teams and making one team out of them. And it still shows you the level that Beast Mode is at, a 1938. They are flat out flying, holding on to a 12-second advantage. Now, we'll see where Herd Zedsun comes through, or Swedish Zwifters. Probably the most interesting time to wait for, Nathan, is how close will they be, as they were the closest at check 1? Or do we see a surge coming on out here from Herd? It certainly looks like Canyon Beta, they're 2015 coming in now, so the 4th quickest time.
They were caught, it looks like, by Beast Mode, presented by Rose here. It does look like Ionian RT just starting in on their next lap, as you can see. Raharin Kurtel now pulling on through for Ionian. Ionian keeping the gap pretty fairly consistent here. It hasn't gone out of control, I wouldn't say. 12 seconds, as you can see. So it is only a 10-second gap now between Rose Beast Mode at this point and this Aeonian team. So this is quite the battle that we're seeing here between these 2 top teams. But Rose Beast Mode, they came in as placed 3rd. So right now they are looking to overtake, as I said, that Canyon Beta team earlier, that they, I think, shine more in the scratch and points race type situations. Now we're seeing those that just got that pure FTP power all day long. The battle at the front now between Aeonian and Beast Mode.
Would you agree, Nathan, that it seems so much easier to slide down this ladder than it is to go up?
In a TTT?
Talking about points?
I mean, in a TTT, yes. Yeah, 100%, because of the reality of what... It's a race of attrition.
A good ride barely gets you anywhere.
Attrition, right? And
right.
And you're trying to continually crawl something, pull just little bits by little bits back, and you just watch points walk away from you seconds by seconds, and you're trying to find whatever else you can with whatever energy levels that you have left in the tank throughout the rest of this, 12K to go or so, whatever it may be. I mean, definitely. It's way harder to claw anything back out here, and you watch your points slip away slowly.
It's really, when you look at it now, for these teams, the level of experience is so high that you're not going to see a lot of power dropouts, or they have been through it all And you're not going to see them make too many of those mistakes, which is going to be critical now. Time taken, you start with 6 riders, and almost every team did start with, well, you see some 5s there and a 1 or 2 4s, but 4 is the minimum that you can start with and get a time. And so obviously starting with 6 and 6 riders that can work through this little split right here for Aeonian is concerning. This is sub-ideal for them. This
I think it's
team
because
will fix
Aeonian, they're
this
trying to go
quickly.
negative. They're
And,
trying to go negative split.
well,
And Yax and Verhaeren, as well as Daniela, is trying to pull us back together, I think. And because you see the time starting to go out, and Beast Mode may have started a little bit hot here. I think Aeonian are starting to pull some time back.
yeah, well, and so this is the subtle things, right? For about 15 seconds, they were dangling in the wind with the split between the team. You saw how quickly they fixed that. That's experience. That's the depth of knowledge and the ability. So this is going to be the Z here coming through. This is a great team to watch for the precision of the team time trialing. We've related this to the Blue Angels, and it's not that far off as far as you need to be in the right place when you rotate through. You hit the watts, the big numbers here, and that's one of the beautiful things about Zwift. You can watch exactly what's happening. Now you can also see that Rose Beast Mode is slowly now, Nathan, because correct me if I'm wrong, Aeonian is 7 seconds now away from the time from Rose Beast Mode. It looks to me, just kind of using a thumbnail sketch, that they're actually closing this down at this point.
Yep.
Now, this is about 2/3 of the way, but Nathan, confirm or deny that?
No, yeah, 100%. It's down to 8
Right.
seconds, it looks like now at this point. And Freibel going to the front here, I think, sees that
This is
threat
in real time.
because they were closing things down at a certain point, and now it seems to be going out just a tad. Now we'll see how this ends
Now-
up playing out. I mean, 8 seconds.
This might be Beast Mode riding their pace, Nathan. They might just be riding their pace, and so I wouldn't say panic if you're a Rose Beast Mode fan. But and again, pacing and that strategy, the scheduling that you have,
And
it's
now
critical.
all of a sudden,
because-
out of nowhere, SZ comes into the conversation. 1950 for the Swedish
Hello.
Swifters. Now they're on the podium, and they're chasing down Beast Mode, already tied with Aeonian RT. Great to see from Team SZ, because look at this here, Dave. If we take a look at where things currently are on the standings, where is this team even coming from? SZ are down in 9th place with 12 points, showing us that the TTT is so crucial to this league.
One of the most long-term, so you use the term long-running, well, they've been around as long as I can remember, an established squad with just such a great heritage. I was wondering, how do you say hello in Swedish? Holla. There you go.
Holla. I
just
like that.
Holla. Yeah. I looked it up on Google. Right. So holla, as these ladies are crushing it. Larson here. So Nathan, this is one of the original super teams, I would say, Swedish Swifters. They've remained true. I've never seen them take in a Norwegian or Finnish rider on this team, racing up in Northern Europe. Obviously, they get plenty of Zwift time. The Zwift season is strong, and Engstrom is stronger. This woman is absolutely phenomenal in her talent. I've seen some of, just through social media, some of the Swedes have been traveling down to Mallorca or spending some time down in the sun a little bit. But right now, this is a team that is clearly showing us as they are deadlocked. 1950 with Aeonian. Beast Mode 12 seconds quicker, but we know just by looking that is, well, we're not, last I checked, it was down to 7 seconds between Beast Mode and Aeonian. That was Aeonian getting closer to Beast Mode. I don't know, but I wouldn't bet against the Swedes doing the same out here. They're in formation. They don't look to be missing a beat here, as they're now up to almost 19K in, about 10K to go.
Real quick, Dave, I do want to highlight that SZ had an 844, right? And that they were ahead of Aeonian RT. Aeonian RT brought back 5 seconds on them, though, in this tied-up situation here at this next split, at the 1950 there with the 14K. So I think that Aeonian are the ones that are just kind of bringing in the negative split. I think they're the ones that are actually bringing back time overall on these top three. don't
picking
count
it
out
up.
Herd
Right.
in this conversation. Perhaps if they come on super strong, there is 8 seconds between them and that second place. 8 seconds, though, in the back end of this course can be found. Wahoo LaCour is still in there, too, only 9 seconds. So there is a lot to be gained here still between these top 5 teams.
I agree. There's these little risers that you hit where there's 4 seconds that can be made if your team can hit it all together in rhythm. The Herd team, Deborah Holly, Finnish rider Jenny Eck, Joanna Waterman is out of the United Kingdom. She rides with the Magic Penguins sometimes. Joke Brenje is one of the Belgian riders on the team, and then the German is Anna. Excuse me, I'm looking at some of the Kirkmeyer riders there. So that's going to be some of the riders here on Zed's Unheard having a tremendous ride. As Nathan said, they're only 20 seconds out, 1 second ahead of Wahoo LaCour. That's probably the closest top 5 that we're going to see anywhere around the globe today in the ZRL, brought to you by WTRL. That's very, very close.
Them there with that Abus LaCour. That you do see as Hertz trying to catch this. Let's just real quickly here. We're going to take a look, let everybody know the men are out on course. And for the men's side of things, we will be covering the EMEA Northeast Div 1. I'll be jumping in with them with their first splits in just a few moments here to give everybody an idea of what's going on. They are on the left-hand side there. Foudre currently leading out that crew. As the top team, Next Gen Foudre. Veritas is in there. DZR, the Danish Zwift riders, as well as I believe the FFZ team and Bike SR. Those are SFR. A lot of French riders actually hanging out in there, as well as riders out of Portugal. So it'll be interesting to see. It's kind of, from what I can see, Denmark v. Portugal v. France today, when it comes to the men's Northeast division. So we'll jump in there in just a moment, but we really have a very tight race right now on the women's side of things. Let's go ahead and see how these next splits are going to start coming in. We'll be hitting that 24K mark in just a moment for our top teams.
I have a feeling this is going to be the best race of the day, to tell you the truth, Nathan, the one that we've got on screen right now. We're back in with Zed Sonar. I was just looking at the men's race, though. Man, I've never seen more French flags on a start list than what we've got today. So clearly, nice job to our French friends. Good to see a real surge in racing numbers there. So let's get a look at where we're at. We're going to have this final check at 22K in. That's around 6.5K before the finish. We've talked about this rider, Vicky Nealon here out of the United Kingdom. Comes in as one of the bona fide legitimate stars of esports over the years. And when she presses the pace like this, same thing we saw with Aeonian, you've got to hold the wheel to make this most efficient. I mean, this is not bad at all. Just a quick correction here. We'll have things sorted. But this shows you what happens with the rider with that kind of power hits the front, Nathan.
Yeah, Nealon here, I think, really at this point, starting to just turn the screws as best she can to pull back as much time.
Just take longer pulls.
I mean, think of this, Dave. She's got the experience of winning at Premier Division. How many seasons was it? 4 in a row? 5 in a row?
Yes.
I mean, over and over and over again. And she gets picked up by Wahoo LaCour. And now is driving the pace with that experience.
I mean, she is. I use the term bona fide and decorated. It's legit. I absolutely love what Coralie Arthur's all about. That's the future of esports racing. Without any question, this team's got a great vibe talking about Wahoo LaCour. They're not that far out. As a matter of fact, I mean, if you look at it across the entire spectrum of esports, there's so much to be proud of on this team. And bringing in a rider like Vicky Nealon, that only benefits a rider like Coralie. And you're going to see this team, the sharing of knowledge, best practices. This team's only going to get better.
Looking at the current numbers that have been thrown down, Nealon 4.3 watts per kilogram at the top end of this team currently. So obviously leading it out in power and not just experience. It is showing up here. We are seeing, though, across all of Aeonian at this point, as I jump back forward to our top team, Aeonian is continuing to bring time back on beast mode. They are getting what looks to be somewhat of a negative split here.
6 seconds.
It's
Six,
getting
Nathan.
so close now at this point. Let's go ahead and see if we can get some splits. The splits should be updating shortly here. They did just come through that 22K mark, and now Yax continues. And every time we jump over to Aeonian, I see Yax on the front. Kristen Yax just pushing the pace, forcing these ladies to try and grab her wheel, trying to speed them up and find some time. Now, they do need to grab that wheel. Daniela Strate, though, she's the kind of rider who can speed things up for the rest of those ladies and close this gap down usually, but I'm wondering if today it's a little bit different here as this gap has gone out now. There's only a few K left to go. They are up and over the top of that little climb on the back end of this course. There will be, they're going down into the underground right now. This is going to be the final climb in just a moment as Strate looks to bring back and glue this together for the rest of the team. Almost every one of these riders is over 4 watts per kilogram, actually, throughout the duration of this race. 3.8, actually, for Daniela Strate, interesting enough, as average heart rate, though, of 189 beats per minute for Daniela.
The Romanian rider who's become such a favorite amongst fans out here. She was featured on World of Zwift, and rightfully so, as she has righted the ship here. Kristen Yax, I don't even think she knows her own strength at this point. Clearly, that woman has been doing tremendous amount of work, and it's going to be scary when you start seeing the results in real life that she's going to be getting as well. Another one of the real success stories that we're seeing coming out. It is hard. It was really hard to just keep things glued together, especially when you're down to the last few kilometers here. And Aeonian has been absolutely flying, Nathan. I mean, they're so close that they can taste it right now. I mean, they're within 6 seconds of winning this race, and they know this. And Nathan, this is, as Somerset Mom would say, the razor's edge, right? In order to win, you've got to risk losing. If you're afraid to take those risks, you're never going to be a champion, especially as a team. It even holds true more. You've got to get people all buying in on giving everything you've got, and they're doing that. The problem is they're going so hard that they're right on the verge of blowing their team up. And that's what it takes. If they're going to,
it really is. It is that razor's edge. And each one of these riders here at this point, it is a razor's edge to losing the wheel as well. If you're right on that, what can I hold here at this point? See that those meters going out a little bit to Verhaeren here at this point. The rider right behind can't lose the wheel, can't lose the wheel, can't lose the wheel. But this is perfection right in front of your face here at this point.
Right now, beautiful, beautiful.
Look at that. The kind of speed that they're holding with Yax on the front is absolutely perfect.
Yeah, okay, just start running the VT right now. Because
DZ, though, losing the wheel. Kurtel's got to close it down. Right now, she got pushed off, actually, by Kurtel.
That's the razor's edge.
Kurtel's going to bring this back together, though. And there it is, all
Great
back
job.
together. Carry the speed through is going to be the question, though.
She's doing it. She's coming through. Watch this. So she's going to hit the front now or get close, but didn't waste that. Didn't lose. This is an A+ ride. It's impossible to be perfect, folks. And this is as close as you can get. Ariel Verhaeren knows what pressure is all about. She was made the American Olympic team back in 2012 as a BMX rider. This team is all quality, and I'm really glad that we stayed with them through these last few K. It's gonna be. I mean, Nathan, they've got it down to 3 seconds.
Yeah, it's right there.
Now. They've got.
It's literally right there.
Worth it. I mean, because now they can afford. They've got one rider that they can lose. So if one of these women blows up in this hypernova experience that we're witnessing from Aeonian, well, so be it. If time comes up on the 4th, they can continue to risk it for the biscuit. This is going to be really, really close. It's going to come down to a second, and I love it. This is what Zwift racing is all about right now. Nathan, can they do it? Yes. Will they do it? Who knows?
It really comes down to this final meters, is whether or not Beast Mode have anything left in the tank, and I think that they're fading now at this point as Estrate just put in everything she had for the team. That was it. She just completely sacrificed herself and dropped them at the last 600 meters. That's what that was all about. Strate gone now at this point, and Yax now takes over at 6 watts per kilogram to get those final seconds back. I think they've done it, Dave.
This is incredible. Daniela Estrate, you are our 5K hero. I mean, I know it's going to be, well, Aeonia. This is absolutely giving me goosebumps right now. They say team time trials aren't exciting. Well, if this holds true, it's going to be to the 10th of the second. There's the finish now in London. Aeonian might have pulled off the most heartfelt ride that I've witnessed so far this year. That's why we do this, folks. Unbelievable from Aeonian out there. And Nathan, if you're going to go for the queen, you best not miss. Well, they didn't miss, that's for sure, because even if they don't get the win, they're going to be second after that effort. Rose Beast Mode is the team. Now they're chasing a ghost because that is a team that has already finished all those times that we were looking
across
at
the
now.
line. There's nothing
They
left
know what
in the
they've got to
tank.
do.
There's nothing
They're
left
trying.
in the tank. You can see it. They should be spread out completely straight line at this point, but nobody taking over at that 300
Schumann's
meter
trying.
to go. Very different. Schumann to the front now with the last kick here, 8 watts per kilogram. Can they get those seconds back? I'm not sure. Now a late arrow power up. Should have been on the front with that a lot earlier, maybe just to hang on. 100 meters to go. There it is. Beast mode. Did they hang on? I think it's going to be really close, Dave. Now here it is.
Don't forget Swedish.
Maiden now coming on in. Yes, you're right. SZ's in this conversation as well. And look at this. Stewart, one of these up-and-comers here, just starts to break the rest of her pack.
Living legend. The legend is not even getting it right for Sammy Stewart. This monster now off the front. So Canyon's just going to throw all the chips into the middle because there's the finish line. This is done and dusted. Oh, man, we just witnessed a Donnybrook out here in London today for our Europe, Middle East, and Africa Division I Central women. We'll see. Those split times now are irrelevant as we're watching the finish times coming through here. This is Wahoo Lacole, another team we've talked about today with Coralie Arthur there. Battersby having a fantastic ride. They're going to bring it all home. So when the horse can smell the barn, the gallop goes into a real different level, and this is going to be it. We are done and dusted as Coralie is going to bring Wahoo Lacole across the line. This team, things are just going to keep getting better. Team's got a great vibe, and they are finished. This is going to be Avis. It is Avis here, the Avis Lacole with the finish out of Van Open. And they've got 4, so they're okay, Nathan. About into the last K. Well into the last K here.
Yeah, it looks like Avis here. Now they're just going to finish up. Having a rough day, though, out there. I think they have been caught by quite a few of the teams. We haven't gotten any splits in quite a while here. We'll see what's happening there on the back end. But we'll jump back in with the men's race in just a moment. But Team SC, as we're talking about here, Engstrom now on the front. And they're still part of the conversation from the last split.
They are.
Boy.
So, again, we are finishing up out here. It's going to be down. It's within a second. You have to think. For our fastest time, we could have 3 teams within a second here. Engstrom is the Swedish Swifter rider. Because those other 2 teams were racing, starting sequentially, we had a chance to see how they were doing in relation to each other. This now is a little bit of a wild card as far as how good this. I mean, we know the time is very good for the Swedish Swifters, but Nathan, they could still win this race. It's not a likelihood, but it's certainly far from impossible as well after what we watched happen just a few moments ago with Aeonian as they closed down, call it 10 seconds in the last 5K. I think that's pretty fair, to tell you the truth, on Rose Beast Mode there. Did the Swedish Swifters do the same? They've got 5 riders together.
Look at these power numbers, too. I mean,
they don't look bad at all.
It's about consistency. We saw Rose coming through with about a 4 watt per kilogram underneath onto the mall, and here I saw Engstrom over 5 all the way through here. I think again there's a better negative split, it seems like here. I think Beast Mode went out really hot.
That could be a winner.
So we'll see how SZ goes to the line. I don't know. I mean, challenging Aeonian, it's been really
I think
close all the
Aeonian
way
gets
through.
it. Yeah. It's going to be really, really exciting to see how this one plays out. We're back in with Ravon, another perennial favorite of ours here. Dudas is the rider. They've got 4 riders here. We're getting familiar with this last K of the course. It's a little over 2 laps of racing today in London. Not a tremendous amount of climbing. Couple little cheeky sections, I guess you could say, but it adds up to 149 meters throughout the duration of the route. You can see the finish line now, if they looked up. Ravon.
It's going to be Tennille on the front, actually. Very well-known individual. She
did our Alzheimer's.
Yeah,
ride.
she does everything. She literally does
She's
everything.
great.
No matter what
Yeah.
there's going on, if it's
Tennille
broadcast
Irish.
and there's a race, Tennille Irish shows up,
She's
makes
so
it happen.
supportive. Yeah.
Amazing rider
Love her.
here. And now she's showing support at 6 watts per kilogram on the front end of this race right now, trying to bring Rave to the line.
Well, she's done a tremendous amount of work to get to the point to close out a deal like that. Tennille Irish and the Rave team, done and done out here in London. Week 2 of season 3 of the 2022 season here. And this one was our first team time trial today, and it did not disappoint. We're going to get make sure we get the data correct for you here.
Yeah, we're jumping into the
you know,
pen.
did you
17
see?
minutes to go to the start? Just as a heads up before
Sure.
we're showing on screen here, I'm just going to let everybody know what's happening. We're waiting for a couple of things. I think a server went down somewhere in the world to be super straight and honest, and so we're waiting on that. Women's EMEA North Division 1 is going to be next, and look who we have here. Lizzie Brooke is on screen. Wahoo Cole are everywhere today, so that'll be super interesting to see how that ends up playing out. But on the men's side of things, we do have images of what is playing out before us for the men's race for the EMEA Northeast Division. We'll go ahead and jump on in with them and see how things are playing out. We'll start getting all of our time splits and results up as fast as we possibly can, just as everybody knows.
The EMEA, that's Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And this is Northeast nation. Nathan, is that correct?
Yeah, we're jumping across over to
Great.
the men's. Yep, the men's Northeast. Right. Div 1 is what we are in with right now. I'm going to jump forward and see if we can find our start. The fastest team coming on in was Foudre. They did drop one of the riders here. Towle, interesting that Towle would be dropped off actually here, but it is going to be Guerra that's leading things out currently for the first team to go out. They have been holding on to this 1 to 2 second difference between themselves and Veritas the entire race as they head into the second half of their final lap.
All right, so actually you can see that they're into the final, call it 8K of racing. So no splits, unfortunately, here. So we'll just have to take a feel, getting a look at the teams. You can see 5 together in this formation from that's how things played out week 1. As you can see the team on screen right now, the French team, Foudre. And that's not a big surprise. The Portuguese team, Veritas, now sitting with 19 points in second. Same scoring system throughout the entire ZRL. So the top team today will get 20 points. So we'll see if Foudre can continue or start to run the table.
Look at the kind of power that's being thrown down on the front end. 6+ watts per kilogram. That's what you need at the top end of the A to A+ divisions when it comes to the highest level of Zwift racing. Some of them at the very highest level, Dave, I think in Premier Division, when you're commentating on that, you do see 7, I think, consistently on the front from those that are the fastest of the fast in the world.
Yeah, there's a couple Foudre teams out here, aren't there? I believe. So with this team, we're looking at Courgeron, Pouche, Laroque, Coulier, Le Forestier, Hubert, and Boulanger, I believe. Yep, that would be Thibaut. It's not all French riders, actually. A couple Belgians on this squad. This is Next Gen X Foudre. There's also just straight up Foudre with Dupas, Malcour, Gabet, Mechefer, and Le Bourbon. There you go, NGG Foudre here that we're looking at. This was the fastest team last week in our scratch race. Points based.
Are you speaking to, let me see here, the FFZ team? Is that what we're speaking? That's the French.
So there's Foudre. There's Next Gen X Foudre, which you've got on screen right now. And then on Zwift Power, anyways, I'm seeing just the Foudre. The 5 riders there with the light blue background and the yellow lightning bolt. Kevin Dupas, Jules Malcourt, Baptiste Gabet.
Yeah, I see them. I do see them. Yep, I got them.
That's not Foudre? Are they racing under a different name?
Yeah, they may be racing under a different name. I can check and see. Not sure.
So that must be Let's see if we can. French Fusion Ventoux? No.
That's a team that's going to be behind this team that started behind Veritas. They are here. Right here is the French Fusion team, FFZ.
There we go. Mentioned a lot of French riders in this group. This is Northeast out of EMEA.
And I think we may have. We'll see if things are loading back up on the splits. We'll be waiting on those. But currently, if we do look at the riders list nearby to help us out a little bit here, it does look like Veritas at this point are pretty much tied neck and neck here between the Foudre team. So Portugal versus the French out here today, still playing out neck and neck. If Veritas do overtake on the time out here today and do end up winning, they will tie for the top spot in the Northeast Division 1A. Frenchy Fusion are still a part of the conversation. I think they may have actually closed down. Oh, no, they've lost time. Excuse me. I think they've actually lost time with where they have started. They may have lost a good amount of time, honestly, up to a minute and a half. We'll see if we can get these splits in momentarily. RWB Esports here now coming on through. It's going to be the Irish team as they're looking fairly solid. And RWB, where did they start? They actually are close. Yeah, Friendship Fusion are having a tough day if we look at all the numbers on the riders nearby. And with RWB looking to make this close down, only 18 seconds. I wonder if Fusion started a little off on their time or if they're just really having a rough day, because RWB, which now have a kit in game, that's a newer kit. Haven't seen that one before, honestly. So cool to see that they're able to get that in game. And
that's Riders Without Borders. Right. That's extremely cool to see that kit. They've worked very, very hard building up that program. That the whole story there in Ireland is one that gives hope for the future. That's for sure, of people coming together. The Troubles, which were such a huge part of world politics and such a concern, is obviously never going to be completely over. Well, I don't know, maybe it will be completely over, but certainly they're doing their best here to transcend that border and just get people doing what they love together. And all 32 counties in full effect here. And this is a team that they didn't show up overnight. They've been working hard on building that. Esprit de corps is a good term there. So you see a lot of those Irish flags. Tough day on data, it looks like, is certainly a lot of folks curious what happened in that women's race. And we'll certainly let you know as soon as we know. We'll pass that on to you. I must admit, it's exciting to have. It's like waiting for the photo finish from the Amstel Gold Race. You can take a guess. You can shoot your shot, but ultimately you'll know when you see the facts being put up on the board. There's 3 different teams right now, Nathan, that have got to be thinking that they're in with a shot to take the win, and the 20 points that go with it, 19 for second, 18 for third and on down, and see how that reshuffles things after 2 weeks of racing here in the ZRL. The team time trial, a signature race for WTRL. It's great to see it on one of the classic courses here today in London. Almost 29K of racing, so you can see that these guys are into the deep, dark part of the pain cave right now with our men. This is, again, the EMEA Northeast A's that we're with. Last week's winner, one of the 2 Foudre teams here, Next Gen X Foudre. There they are on screen right now, 5 riders together. Looks like they're pinning it here. Wouldn't want to be the one to tell them that they didn't get the win, that's for sure, as they clearly have gold medal in their motivation category.
And a solid 6.4 watts per kilogram again. Le Forestier on the front now. They do have one Belgian rider, it looks like, jumping in, or at least a Belgian flag. Just realizing that with Hubert here, also up into 6 watts per kilogram. Look at this heart rates. 191 beats per minute now at 374 watts. Just looking to hang on as the Forestier's the monster over the top
Yeah,
of
if they
that
don't win,
climb.
it's not for lack of effort, right? I mean, they're all in. That's
The
for
crazy
sure.
thing is Veritas is right on their heels still too, right? Like Veritas is still within that 1 minute. Now, have they lost 30 seconds though? Because I think it may be on 32nd. I'm not sure. So it's different for each
The
of the
stagger at the
divisions. Yeah,
start, right?
this division might have been a 1 minute rather than a 30-second stagger. We'll have to wait and see if we do get some splits coming on here, as well as in the results. But Kulia's here now, still continue on at 6.6. Looking at the differentiation between the watts per kilogram, I actually would have a feeling it may have been 30-second splits because this team is just flying, never below 6 on the front.
Yeah, I mean, that's like PO Auto in their heyday kind of numbers that we're looking at there. This would be a top 3 ride in the old Premier days for a food race. So this team is not messing around. It's all business right now. Coulier is the Pook is also there when we're looking at this food race team. We'll get to know these names better throughout this season. This is I wouldn't say the new kids on the block, but a team that's made big strides forward over the last couple of seasons. And here they are, certainly at the front of the class now. Unlike Premier, riders are able to use Tron bikes if they've earned them in game here in community. So it's the ability. This is the sprint beginning now to the finish line here, as it comes just before 29K. So just a few more pedal strokes, and this will be done and dusted for what's most likely our top team out here today. Apologize that we don't have more information for you, but I guess it's a victim of our own success here with the popularity of number of teams out riding. This is Veritas, the Portuguese squad. Let's see what they can put together now.
And 4 left to go to the line here for this team. I think we may be
just enough.
A couple. We'll see if we can bring in some splits here in just a second as we as they make their way to the line. It does look like they're coming in. And as they are coming in, we'll be able to get an idea of how things played out and then get some results up for everybody. Apologies again on that, but it looks like I'll be able to read it out here. Currently, Foudre it's literally 1 second between Talent Frey, Veritas, and Next Gen Foudre. Actually, 1 second between
really
each
just
one
like
of
the
them right
women.
now. Yeah, it's so close. 3 teams all right within striking distance of each other. As Veritas crosses the line, we'll head back to Frenchy Fusion and see how they pull off this last kilometer.
All right, we've gotten to know this last kilometer really well. It's actually extremely fast here, carrying that momentum. They're going to sacrifice a rider here as well as Paloni, not losing actually. Going to get right back into the slipstream. So keeping his head above water, a little over 1K to go. Another one of our French teams that you can see here. Riders Without Borders are right behind them. That's where you see the 2 different tricolors. Actually, more than that as far as tricolors go, but some of the most renowned flags worldwide, respected flags worldwide. Here's some splits coming in. So it was, again, you know that Foudre's finished at this point. Next Gen X Foudre has finished. Let's see if that time holds up. I mean, it was only 1 second, as Nathan said, back at that split. That was 7K before the finish line. Oh, I can't wait to see how this one sorts out.
And as you can see here, Talent Frey, though. Who is Talent Frey? And what are they doing within 2 seconds of Next Gen? Interesting to see here. If we bring this in, Talent Frey are all the way down.
And even Racing Without Borders. Racing Without Borders is only 10 seconds out.
Yeah, and
unfortunately,
down in 4th, so great to see how these teams are showing up on the day for the TTT again.
It's really great to see from WRB that they're becoming a contender at this high level. That's a lot of work along the way. Tade Sedar is one of the riders that we've got. They've got 4, and that's all you need. It's actually, in a lot of ways, a good sign, meaning that you used every last bit that you had out there, completely emptying that the tube of toothpaste of pain is empty, completely rolled up, squeezed out. All over
Brushing
London.
yeah, you gonna keep going with that one? Brushing the teeth to the line? Are they gonna see blood in the sink? I don't know. We'll have to see. Miller here, as it's gonna be Anderson as well, leading it out. Solid ride here coming in from the Racing Without Borders team. Moving our way backward a little bit. This is gonna be the team that we were highlighting just a moment ago. And you know what? You know why this team is flying? It's got that Smurs Frey in there. That's why this team is flying. The TF, this Talent Frey A1. Smurs Frey shows up in the TTT every week, is in that podium contention amongst
They really do.
Doppio as well as the Espresso. This is always a team that I'm expecting to be saying their name. And here we go. Grupp, Lemp, Lammers, Sanchez, and Santos here. Van Hein, they know how to TTT. You can see it here with the way that they're strung out right now. Taking over at the front. Now are they going to fill the gap well as Lemp puts in that final little kick at 6 watts per kilogram, coming in the final K.
You can cut them some slack at this point now because the throttle just opens up here, just hit the afterburners. So the perfection that they obviously have had a tremendous ride out here today. Nathan's 100% correct. This is not by accident. They've been showing up Thursday after Thursday. You could too. Get your team together if you've never raced WTRL. We'll be fired up again this Thursday and every Thursday. But now it's just bringing it on home. And let's see how close this is going to be. We're getting some finish times in now. And here in the Premier League, we start our fastest teams first versus the other direction, where the fastest teams will be seeded to start last on Thursdays. Always the nuances of the different leagues and races that you're in, but this is going to be Smurs Frey, Alex Lemp, Bastian Van Hein, Christian Grupp, Jan Lammers, Mark Santo, and there's a couple Danish guys as Philip Sanyat also on this team, done and dusted. Looks like Hexagon is the team that Nathan has found here. They were top 7 with the 29.32 at the 22 check, the third and final check before the finish, as they bring it on home now.
Really interesting to see how things are lined up there on the finish line, because you can tell who was lower ranked coming in because of the big jump up in the order that they started. Still on course, Talent Frey just finishing, so it'll update in just a second. But all those others that had finished so much further ahead of them, do you see how they jumped way up into that third place spot? So interesting to see, and you can kind of get an eye on and see a visual representation of somebody making a jump up in the standings through the TTT today.
Yeah, and we've talked about the points and how that distribution makes it really hard to climb up, but a bad team time trial and you can lose 3. So getting 1 point moving up is twice as hard as it is to easily lose 2 points, that's for sure. Hexagon here, less than a K to go. Not the only team that's seen a little bit of this going on. It's pretty normal, to tell you the truth, is kind of not lose your focus.
Even though it's like a flatter course, that last little bump out of the underground
just blows it up, doesn't it?
It's a 1 minute or so all out, attack essentially, if you're really trying to get as much extra time out of the course as you possibly can. It's your last chance, and anybody who's got some extra matches left, they might burn the team a little bit too much.
Yeah, I think everybody's at their limit, right, Nathan? And that little bump is enough that the lactic acid that's pooled, it just turns the floodgates open and you start having that cramping going on. Even though it's 38 minutes, you are in the hurt box from the moment you get going. Most riders have done a pretty elaborate warm up before you start this race. That's if you're racing for a top time, that's pretty much required. Some more finishing happening now. Again, apologizing. It's one of those days as far as the data goes. It's just great to be able to follow these teams out here on course for week 2 of the ZRL, and everything gets sorted out in the end. I wish that we were able to give the live splits, but you'll see. Ultimately, you can go back and rebuild things. We're in with Synth Rider and ZR Scott now.
Yeah, ZR Scott, Synth Rider here. We do, it looks like, have Zwift HQ with Bradbury showing up as well. Good to see that. Absolutely love it that the people who work at Zwift also participate at all of the levels of competition, it seems.
That's Peter Bradbury there. Nice job, Peter. Nathan, how about Richard Sanderson now on this ZR Scott team? Have you taken a look at this flag? There it is. Thank you, Richard.
You want to help me out a little bit on that one?
Well, that is gorgeous for one. And without any doubt, that is the Seychelles flag, which I'll be honest, Nathan, I did not know that. I'm looking it up to see where in the world. It sounds like an island to me. Just off of. So it's a country in East Africa. You can.
Numerous beaches, coral reefs, nature preserves, animals. I'm seeing here tortoises are a
Somali
big part of it
Sea,
here.
the Indian Ocean there, northeast
Capital
of Madagascar.
Victoria. It tells us what their dialing. Their population is 98,462. Whew.
It's smaller than the city that you live in, isn't it?
It's about that. I mean,
about the same.
Well, I mean, it's the city I live in. Well, the city plus the city surrounding. Yeah, about that. About that.
So yeah. East Africa. How cool is that? A new country for us. We love it. So nice job, my friend. That's Richard Sanderson that we're talking about. So Richard must be Scottish. I say giant question mark above my head, but it sounds possible. Maybe he's down there, doing work or something. We'll have to find out Richard's story, but it's great to have him on Zwift, and he's going to be happy to be finished here. They rode a strong ride today. ZR Scott done and dusted out here as they crossed the finish line in London after 2+ laps of agony and ecstasy today. This is the other Foudre team. Well, excuse me, one of many Foudre teams. Foudre has become a franchise, haven't they? There's more Foudres than there are Burger Kings in America.
29. I don't know if they're in America though.
That's not true.
29.55 here.
That's not true.
They're trying to hold on to a top 10 right now. Is what they're trying to do. Foudre. They're up against it here with João Almeida and Eonak Moore.
João Almeida is a famous Portuguese bike racer, world tour racer. But
is that what it is?
Yes, but do you know what Foudre is? That's it. I did not. Again, of a full disclosure, I had to look this up. Foudre is a large cask for maturing, storing, and transporting wine.
Love it.
All right. Yeah, there you go. We're obviously very high on the education element with our broadcasts here at Zwift Community Live. Thank you for joining us, and thank you, Richard Phipps, for the
we get
nice
the chalkboard
comment.
out, whereas Anna gets the whiteboard out. We get the chalkboard out, and it probably sounds more like our nails than chalk sometimes when they're giving these lessons. But my favorite here, along with Dupas.
People are like, I could always look that up on Google myself. They're saying, but
thanks, they appreciate the information. All right, as this EMEA Northeast Division finishes up, we can go ahead and bring in some results. We do have the women jumping out on course for the North. We will be covering EMEA North Division 1 this week, and it's got some pretty heavy hitters. As we did say, NZ Bro is in there, Team Electric Spirit, that's CO, Roka Korba are showing up, Draft are showing up, Wahoo Lacole, WTRL, as well as another Aeonian team. So don't go anywhere. We are going to definitely have some crazy racing coming at you for the other side of the women's regions here. On the results, though, Dave, really interesting how this ended up playing out because, right to the line, Dave, literally right to the line when it came down to it. And on the women's side.
So it was Beast Mode, Swedish Swifters, and Aeonian. Those were the three, right? If I was just reading the tea leaves, it was, so many times, just like in that Amstel Gold sprint, the team coming from behind who's closing down gaps have a perceived faster finish, right? Doesn't always mean that's true. Did Beast Mode hold on? Did Aeonian overtake them? Or did Swedish Swifters shock the world? And while two dogs were fighting for a bone, just walk up, take it, and walk away. No one noticed. Let's see. Nathan's got the answers for us.
I've got the answer. I definitely have the answers. And you know what? I'm actually going to do this. I'm going to say that this is also our 5K to go hero today. When it comes down to it. Because the reality is what got played out here in front of our eyes with Aeonian RT by 1
They
second,
did it.
144. Ooh, and that negative split they pulled off. Catherine Yak, I'd say Yaks as well.
Yaks is just unreal.
Just was a monster in that last couple of K. Pushed her team to the line. Estrate then, though, yep, you're right. I'll give it Estrate, actually. They win the 5K to go hero, but I mean, Estrate is kind of like that icing on the cake, that complete sacrifice, and then just went to zero and let her team go. Amazing job by Oni and RT.
I almost jumped up and left my post and went and got my Aeonian hat. I'm so proud of these ladies. That was all heart. I don't know many teams, Nathan, that looking at a 10-second deficit at where they did, about 5K to go, would be able to close down that gap. But that's why you never give up in the sport of cycling. And we talked about it, that razor's edge, Nathan. They were right on that. What an intense place to be. Only elite athletes need apply to do what Aeonian did. Beast Mode, our hearts are with you. You got such a strong team, and I know you're going to have your day. As Beast Mode presented by Rose, you have had your day, and you will again. Ends up in second at 144, back 1 second, 44 hundredths back. Swedish Zwifters Sin. I mean, Nathan, they closed down that gap. They more than halved it themselves from Beast Mode from that final split down to 5:19 to Aeonian, who took the win. In fourth place, the mighty Wahoo Lacole. Fifth place goes to Herd, Zed's son, that combine squad that's going to be fun to watch. Canyon Esports Beta, they fight to a sixth place today. The most competitive division that we're going to find. Avis Lacole Flames in seventh. Ravon in at eighth. Coalition Rhapsody for ninth. This is our women's EMEA Central Division 1As. 10th place is the Revo Arrows. That's the Australian e-racing team. They end up in 10th. Then BBB Racing fought hard for an 11th today here. There's your top 11 teams in a extremely competitive division.
And real quickly, let's see how that ended up playing a crossover for the division when it comes to the standings. Rose Beast Mode bumped themselves up into second place. Aeonian RT dominating so far, undefeated. Canyon Dude dropped down to a tied position with Wahoo Lacole for third and fourth, but I think they were maybe I'm not sure they were the faster on the day, interesting enough here, but they are in a tied position here at this point at 34 points. Herd said, son, they bumped themselves up with a really solid ride up into fifth place. It was called Fall. The Flames Esports there down to a tied position with SC Sin. SC Sin were so low on the board, they actually jump way up in points, but hold down a seventh place right now. So hopefully they'll see some more climbing. You know, at 30 points to the 34 for third, it's really not that big of a jump in points. It's such a close division, which is really cool to see in this central. I think we're going to see a lot of really tight racing throughout the rest of this. It is going to be Rave on there in eighth currently, Revo Arrows and Coalition Rhapsody. That's the situation after today's racing with the series standings. Let's take a quick look here then at the, sorry about that, everybody. We'll get this correct here when it comes to the rest of the times that they came on through. It was going to be at the top, Rave Firestarter with the 42.40, followed up by R3R, Bewitch, Coalition Equinox, Vegan Fruit Bats, and then VCRT. Vizslaz coming on through with a 224 back. That's your top five in the B category for Div 1B in the Central. Dave for the C's.
The Watt Fabric Kiss My Back Wheel team puts together a brilliant ride. 45.03. That's good for gold in the Division 1Cs here in the Central. It's the Australian Hump Day Ride ladies. Crank Crushers good for second. This is interesting, too, as I think there's some teams that made a statement. R3R Aha in third. Galaxy Supernova Blast in for fourth place. Evo Meteors in at fifth. TFC Storm is our sixth place Division 1C team. It's ZR Scott Ela in seventh. Revo Galaxy's eighth. Coalition Vitality in ninth. 10th place went to Sisu. I Race Like a Girl, Morrigan. And 11th was WTRL, World Tactical Racing League Typhoon Edition. That's your C's.
In the D category, it is Team EMEA ladies bumping themselves up into a top spot because that was not the situation coming in. I believe the standings for this, we actually had a little bit of different situation. So Team EMEA ladies, that nice job to them. It's going to be WTRL Dinos coming on through for second, Revo Rebels in third, SC Sif in fourth, and Rue Riders Wild Ones. That's the situation. Let's go ahead and take a look at the men's results. As they come on, they have come on in, and we'll get an idea of how that played out, and then we'll take a look at their standings as a result of this. And it is, wow, it was so close here again, Dave. It is going to be next Rouge, just holding on less than a second in the Northeast Div 1A, as Talent Frey, who were way down in the standings, end up bumping themselves up all the way to second place. Great job for them. Now, this, I haven't updated this. Luckily, I have not updated this board. Look at where they were. They were all the way down in sixth place at 15 points. What a team time trial for them, and what a way to really boost their team in the standings from today.
Well, they certainly did their work on Thursdays, didn't they? That's really cool to see. So let's take a look then. And it is worth noting as well, Nathan, both the men and the women here in two of our premier divisions ended up having three teams within 10 seconds of each other on the podium. Next Gen X Foudre, fastest team on the planet today. 37:19 is the winning time. And what's really substantial, a couple things to note here. 4.90 watts per kilogram. That's the highest number, but it's not really that much higher than Racing Without Borders in fourth place. And it's not even as high as the fifth place team. So their efficiency, their skill, along with their power, it's much like rowing, cross-country skiing, swimming. It's not just how strong you are, but you've got to know the craft, and clearly they do. Talent Frey A1, 4.32 watts per kilo. So efficient and so close. They're within a second. It's 0.7 of a second back to second place here. The Portuguese team, boy, did they have a ride today. Veriatos, and they're going to end up 7.5 seconds back in third. Racing Without Borders, we talked about what a phenomenal movement of the people that is out of Ireland, and the fourth place for them today, only 21 seconds back. Alpha E Racing in fifth. French Fusion Ventoux in sixth. Hexagon, presented by Ceres 2 in seventh. Foudre VS in eighth. PTZ, Joao Almeida in ninth. ZR Scott Aonak Moore in, so that's obviously Scottish. We're going to have to work on that, 10th. And then Calais Virtual Cycling Club Pro Team. They're going to take 11th today in the Northeast Division 1As out of Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So that's the A's. Unreal racing out there today, guys.
We'll jump over to the B's in just a moment. We're heading over to the women's racing for the North Division, just as a heads up, everybody. So don't go anywhere if you are looking for that. But in the Northeast Div 1B for the men, it is BMTR Kodiaks there with a 40-18. Nice job to them. It is only 6 seconds back, it looks like, though, for DZR Derfel Danes. Then 38 seconds back to VCRT Roddies for this B division. There's ZR Scott Highlanders in for fourth at 44 seconds back. Bikes France, Team Boa in fifth place there. EWCC Hounds 1 minute back in sixth. Dirty Beasts Orcas in for seventh place there. Team NLB 8. And then Evo Cyclones, that's 8th and 9th place. And then in with the C's.
All right, it's Wahoo Lacole Badgers taking the win. Very good job, guys. 44-21, the winning time, only 14 seconds back. Look how close it was between second and third. So the Pandas for BMTR were right there taking silver. Bronze medal awarded to ART, Adam Racing Team, Krypton Edition. It's Team Italy 13 in fourth, Tenacity fifth, PTZ Rafares in sixth, and Giant Camden Scrambled Legs rounding out our top 7 in the C's here in the Northeast.
And in the D's, it is Coalition Tenacity out in BMTR D1 by 15 seconds, and then by 2 minutes they're back to Herd of Kelpies in the D categories. So that's the situation as it played out there today. Northeast Div 1, good job to everybody across all of the categories. Now, in with the racing for the women, Lizzie Brooke, early on in the racing here, we did see a little bit of separation across all of WLC. They were having trouble hanging on with the pace that was being set. And I think that's because they are defending coming in the fastest of the fast in this North Division for the women in EMEA. Cassie, Williams, Patterson, Perry, and Ferdson, they were looking to try and grab back on. I'm not sure if there was a dropout or if the pace was just too high, but Brooke here continuing on and smashing it on the right-hand side of our screen right now. Let's go ahead and see. On the left-hand side, you do see it is 8:13 to the start of our final broadcast for EMEA. That is going to be in with the men's mixed North Division. Just as a heads up, men's mixed North is what we will be covering. 8 minutes from now, we'll go across both of those races as they do play out in front of our eyes. But Lizzie Brooke here, it looks like trying to weld things back together for her team. They need these four to cross the line, and Patterson now off the back, they're going to have to wait up.
Yeah, Lizzie comes with a lot of experience and form, to tell you the truth, as she's a professional triathlete that's been out on the circuit. So as she's back in the esports world, she was part of that Socks for Watts empire, since been racing with Wahoo Lacole. And that experience, I hope, is going to pay off here and just trying to reorganize the team and remotivate morale as they are out on 2 laps. Again, if you're just joining us, thanks. We're into the second race of the season here in ZRL, season 3 of the 2022 season. And this was certainly one of the revelation squads looking at the familiar Wahoo Lacole kit. They're just not having their day right now.
3 seconds. It looks like Brooke here going back to pick up. It looks like Patterson now upping the pace up into 5.3 watts per kilogram. They are coming in as the series leaders with 20 points. You do see Team Italy trying to chase them down. They do have a little bit of a buffer to work with. It is 25 seconds that they have opened up to the chasing crew. On the boards here that we are seeing, though, it was at the first split about 9 seconds. I think it has gone out a little bit more than that at this point. Roca Corba Collective, they're in a heated battle for second place between electricspirit.co and Team Italy, actually. It is only a 3-second split between them. Then quite a ways back there, NZ are there in 5th, but they have only 3 seconds over Firestorm from WTRL, and Draft ZRL are there as well, only 2 seconds back from them. So there is really a battle here for that 5th, 6th, and 7th place. And then up at the top of the leaderboard right now, we're looking at what looks to be about a 14-second split between the top teams.
They actually have the fastest split time there, the team that we're watching, even though it looks like it's been somewhat chaotic. They're leading with an 8:41, 8:52 the time for Team Italy, presented by Castelli. Sitting in second, Roca Corba, that world-famous climb right outside in at 8:54, so only 2 seconds back there. It's going to Girona, is the town I'm talking about in Spain. We've got electricspirit.co, the Chanticleer edition, 8:55. Very, very close here. Nathan, second, third, and fourth within 3 seconds of each other. Little bit of a gap up to Wahoo Lacole. They've got their 4 riders back together. So let's see if they can stay organized at this point now.
Yeah, they really need Patterson just to hang on at this point, really use the downhills as best as she possibly can. Brooke really wants to push this pace. As you know, she wants that 5 watts.
Her time comes off of Patterson's wheel.
Over again. Yeah. And then Patterson just needs to hold that wheel while these 3 rotate at the front if she's really burnt the book at this point.
Yeah, it's a challenge. Back in with the Italians, don't look like they're having the same problems right now. They look simpatico, to tell you the truth.
This could end up playing in their favor toward the end of this race. If they're able to, take some
Again, what's important is, their 4th rider, right, who's one of these 6, versus the 4th rider on Wahoo Lacole, the Irish woman, Patterson. It's certainly, I would rather be on this team right now.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how much is in the reserves of any of these riders that are sitting, maybe sitting in a little bit, and if they're going to have a little bit of extra to give and pull through with some more.
The next split will tell us everything.
Yeah, because
if the Italians haven't brought the time back,
it's going to be Lizzie and Cassie kind of verse 6 riders, right? So, or depending, I'm not,
Well, this is
maybe I'm
much
making some
better now.
assumptions here,
Well,
but
I mean, well, they've got it right
I don't know.
now.
I mean,
Looking
they've
at
got it together right now. What I'm getting at is what's left in the fuel tanks, though, and what can they do when
it
it comes
doesn't
to
matter.
pulls?
Well, it doesn't matter what's left in your fuel tank. It's what's left in Patterson's fuel tank. That's the name of the game on this team. I mean, if you're Lizzie Brooke or any of the other riders, you can't keep dropping her. Is the thing. You've got to
Yeah,
learn how to
so
keep her in the slipstream.
that 23 seconds that Team Italy are trying to pull back, I mean, you got a 2v6 essentially playing out in front of your face, perhaps. Unless, Williams might have something here too, it looks like. 5.1
Well, they
watts
call
per
it
kilogram.
nursing a rider along, right? And it makes plenty of sense in a team time trial where you've got different abilities and some courses will suit riders better. So whoever your weakest link is on the team, it has to be one of the 4 riders. Well, you have to pay attention to that rider and make sure that you keep her in the slipstream.
Looks like that's
That's
what's
the name of
happening
the game
here.
right now, is how fast can you keep her going, not how fast you can go. A little bit, you got to check your ego at the start line here in a team time trial event.
190 beats per minute here currently coming in from Rico.
That's a big effort. Yeah, I mean they're not playing around. So this next check, so Wahoo Lecole with a 1944. If you just look at the images, you'd certainly think that the Italians with 6 riders here, they seem to have the flow. But the thing about Wahoo Lecole, it might not be pretty, but they're just muscling their way around out there. They could very well still have the fastest time.
I think they do. I think they will for sure.
Right. It's just that it's not pretty, but they're really, really strong. That's, I guess, the fair way to put it, right?
Yeah, I'm wondering if the extra bodies here are going to be able to pull anything off in the back end of this course for the Castelli team or not.
As they say, it can't hurt, right? I mean, it's certainly the back half of the course is where they'd hope to take advantage of that.
Looking back,
Wahoo
it looks
Lecole,
like electricspirit.co are within striking distance still. Electricspirit.co now with Kent, Katie. It's going to be Gilbert now. See if we can get the rest of these riders here as they make their way around course. They've got 4th place currently, 1 second off of Roca Corba. Roca Corba, though, I think closing this down.
Super
Look at the
close
rider
here.
nearby list here, 51 seconds back from Electric Spirit. I'm loving how they do their kits here with the all orange. Always able to recognize them very easily on course.
Yeah, they look great. They really do. This is a team we've come to enjoy. There's 3 teams right now that are going to be threatening Wahoo Lecole's dominance in this division. So this is their shot. This is a really good opportunity out here today. Is maybe a little chink in the armor being exposed, and you make a great point, Nathan. In the back half of this course, where these teams are going to try to take advantage of the fresh riders that they've got. This 3% grade here is where you see this happen quite a bit, where riders who are in a little bit of trouble, just holding that wheel becomes an issue for a moment there, but they've got it right back together here. Not a ton of climbing, but the little bit that there is seems to have an impact today.
Yeah, it's going to be Mariangela Sozzi, who's coming out of Italy at the back of the pack right now, making her way to the front. Is going to be Laura Kent, coming out of Scotland. Also on this team is going to be Fionn Gilbert, Hylwyn Gilbert. Katie Loker is out here from electricspirit.co, one of our super fans, I think, in chat a lot of times. Very active at 160 beats per minute, sitting second wheel, trying to glue the back 3 to that front wheel at the speed of 32 kilometers per hour. Currently, their time just coming in at 2014 right now as they look to chase down Team Italy. Not sure they're going to be able to bring that back over the last few K, but the race is far from over. They just need to ramp things up a tad here at this point as Gilbert comes over the top. Then it is going to be followed up by a rider who's named herself Lucifer, it looks like. out here. As
Yikes.
she makes her way around.
So it's really interesting. This is one of those dynamics of the Wahoo Lacole team with these independent talents. Is it going to be enough to hold off these teams that have kept the numbers together and are having a smoother ride, but just not with the same forza as you're seeing from Wahoo Lacole? And Wahoo Lacole's not giving back any time. They're actually growing their advantage. So this is a classic example of it. It doesn't always have to be pretty, does it? And Wahoo Lacole is getting it done. They're starting to ride away right now with a 21-second advantage here over Team Italy. So it's settled into, it really looks like a race, getting to be a race for second right now, with Roca Corba Collective 5 seconds behind Team Italy, and then it's 9 seconds back to electricspirit.co. Fastest teams, or well, teams not fastest, but based on points from last week. So on team ranking, the top teams heading out first here today.
Roca Corba.
And actually, they've stayed in order. They've stayed in order based on how they raced last week.
Interesting enough, yeah, they have. Looks like, well, perhaps. I think.
Or was Team Italy second?
I think Electric Spirit has fallen back just a tad. Let me just double check his real quick.
Or have they? So I don't. Oh, there you go. A switch between Electric and Roca Corba. Yep. Right.
So that's the battle right now between them. And looking at Roca Corba, they seem very organized as we have them on screen here. Ridgeway at the front. And it's going to be Northrop, Cat Ridgeway. We see Maddie Mann. I think Gabby Stephen also riding for this team. And Ellen Lockett. The current situation out here.
Team organized by Ashley Moolman Passio, famously the organizer of this team. I'm sure she's had some help, but her name has helped build the morale on this squad. She's in her final season as a World Tour racer, but has given esports world champion, and certainly given a ton back to the esports community. Talking about Ashley. So it's nice to see her team shining out here as they're out on their final lap in London. Northup, the Roca rider that we're in with, and they're fighting for a top 3 spot
here for the final broadcast of our EMEA, and this is going to be jumping in with, see if we can get the men's EMEA North Division 1, and super fast team to jump out first here. It is going to be No Pins R3R, Zach Harner, Hagen. It looks like Liam Bard is here. Breely as well. I mean, this is has got Snickers. This is going to be a top team to watch out for. Now, are they going to be able to hang on to the top spot is going to be the question, because they are being chased down by AHDR as well as the Japanese Jet team too. So this, I think we're going to have one of our best races actually coming out of this North Division between these top teams that are showing up. They all really want it. And what's interesting, really across the world, with AHDR, Japan, and the UK, as well as the USA represented in these top 3 teams, as well as
might be
Norway,
the most
too.
global, right? Yeah. All right. So the women into the back half of their race. It's been Wahoo Lacole. Really, an interesting race for sure when you look at what's happening with the women. But Wahoo Lacole starting to ride away with the gold medal, but real battle going on for second, third, and fourth behind them. Guys just getting out on course. If you're just joining us, we're in London today. It's week 2, race 2 of the ZRL Season 3 2022. We started off with a straight-up scratch race, and moving into our team time trial here today, the teams that specialize in this, just like the No Pins R3R team, this is certainly an event that's right in their wheelhouse, Nathan, and it shows as they're just flying out onto course here.
We'll get splits in with the men at 6K will be the first one. They're 3.6K in, so let's go ahead and jump back in with the ladies as we'll see what's happening with the rest of the pack here. Roca Corba looking to hold on to a third place position currently as electricspirits.co faded just a tad. into the 14-kilometer marker. We are getting some splits to come on in, and it is going to be the next one's coming in from NZ Bro. Piranihehe is what I'm seeing for that name. Let's see if we got a pronunciation correctly. And then Draft ZRL are there as well. WTRL Firestorm there with a 9:17 the last time they checked in. Interesting enough, we haven't got a split in for them just yet, but they were flying up against Draft ZRL and really had this battle going on with this NZ Bro team. So these are some familiar names for sure from NZ Bro. Reese is here. Francis. We're looking at Conlon, Neil, and Trewon as they make their way around. Is one of the Rave ladies here mixed in with them? Or maybe just picked up, I think. Using the Rave jersey as one of the pickups for the team. I think Litton was riding with, if I'm not incorrect, I want to say that she was riding with Anna Russell for a little while. Double check.
Talking about Danielle Trewon?
No, I think Litton.
Litton. Got
Brittany
you.
Litton was, I believe, for a little bit, was picked up with that SARS team for
Prini
a
Hey.
while.
Prini Hey means princess in Maori, from what I can glean. I feel like that came up the other day as well in WTRL, which is a good sign for this NZ Bro team because that means they've been practicing their team time trials.
And
Brittany Litton, Carly Francis.
Solid ride here so far. We'll see if they can be the best of this, 5th through 7th. I think maybe it's walked away a little bit from them for challenging for that 4th place up against electricspirit.co. And really, there's a chatter here, I would think, about those top, the top 3rd and 4th, second, 3rd, and 4th. It looks to me like Wahoo Lacole are just walking away with this one, even with the struggle of keeping things together. It's going to be really up.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter, does it? Yeah. I mean, ultimately, and they've got things figured out at this point as well. It's nice to see Patterson. It's been a challenge, no doubt, when you're with such strong athletes here, just getting the flow together. And they've done that. So this is clearly Wahoo Lacole back in sync. And it was never in danger. One of those unique experiences when you've got that much talent. You can afford to not have the, I don't even know what you would call it, right? The flow of a team time trial. And eventually a smart athlete will just figure it out as these women have.
Lindsay Cassie to the front right now. She's put out a solid 4.7 watts per kilogram for the duration of
That's a lot of power. Yeah, I mean,
293 average. I'm not.
Your heart has to go out.
I haven't seen a 4.7 yet for today. I don't think from any of the ladies across the categories we've covered.
I mean, it's funny. This is a tough scenario for Patterson, right? Where she's going faster and working harder than 99.9% of our racers today. She just happens to be on this team with ridiculous talent out here. I mean, what a high level from this Wahoo Lacole team. She's having an incredible ride.
Yeah, Joe Patterson put out 4.4 watts per kilogram.
She would be leading just about any other team.
This is not like she's struggling to be an all-star here amongst the community in any way whatsoever.
No, you're not looking at a woman who's in over her head at all. So she'll come out of this one even stronger. That's for sure.
She got thrown into the Lions. Maybe she just had a tough start. Oh, there's also this, Dave. She has 3 races on Zwift Power. 3. One of them was back in 2020. Curve. Then she did.
You might have seen the steepest learning curve. Yeah,
twice, and then that was it. I mean,
right. So she has almost zero experience jumping into the very deepest end of the pool with these sharks. Right? Actually, I almost think Joe Patterson deserves the Rider of the Day award for what she's done out here. She's going to make it. She's going to get the time for the team. They're going to win. And she did not give up. As a matter of fact, that's my hero right there. I have a tremendous amount of respect for. You're telling me she's only done 3 races and they're not even at
3 races,
this level.
and 2 of them. So she did the time trial world tournament, and she did a one time trial like a month before that, Team TT, like team time trial, and that was it. And then way back in 2020, she did a race like I don't know, like some B race or something way back in 2020 in December.
So, Nathan, how is this time going to compare? Or I guess we could even look at that split 30-36 to the other women's teams that were out there. And that right there, I mean, so for Patterson, Joe Patterson out here today, she should be feeling quite chuffed, as they say,
Yeah,
with
this
this
team would
effort
win.
today.
This team would win across actually.
So
Uh,
so isn't it amazing when you look back through what was happening 15K ago?
Ooh, maybe
This is
they've
the best
actually
ride of the
sped up.
day.
They've
And
actually sped up.
yeah,
WLC
yeah.
at the 14K was slower than beast mode at 14K.
So they got their act together.
Yeah,
Is
essentially
basically
they
what
got their act
happened.
together because they were
Yeah.
841 versus 836, 1938 versus 1944, and then 3043 versus 3036. They've got an amazing negative split actually here coming in from this WLC team.
This would so this split that we're talking about is by far the best of the day. Once they so giving Joe Patterson all the credit in the world for how quickly she was able to get this all figured out. I can't imagine, Nathan, that there wasn't a little bit of frustration on the team there in that first 10K. Once they got this sorted out, all of a sudden it makes you so proud of these athletes for not giving up. This goes down as a very memorable ride for Wahoo LaCool out here today. As I have a feeling this will stand up as the fastest time of the day. Amy Williams, Joe Patterson, Katy Perry, Lizzie Brooke, Lindsay Cassie has been instrumental out here. Susie Johnston and Vanessa Furston are the riders that all make up this Wahoo LaCool team. This is going to be Lindsay Cassie that we're looking at on the front. Right behind Lindsay is Amy Williams there. She's the Welsh rider on this team. We talked about pro triathlete. Right in the middle of a great season is Lizzie Brooke. And Joe Patterson, the Irish woman. She's going to get there. Big props to you, Joe. You keep it up. We'll be hearing more about Joe Patterson, that's for sure.
And as she looks to close this down, they're going to weld this all back together. Brooke coming back to hand the wheel real quickly, and I think we're going to see some acceleration on the other side of this climb. Brooke will probably come around, and hopefully there's going to be a wheel grabbed. And Cassie just continues on. I think Lizzie Brooks got a lot of matches left in the tank here at 156 beats per minute. I think she's just going to drag Patterson up to the wheel on this downhill as best as she possibly can without losing too much time. WLC, I think, perhaps with a good DS in the ear as well, letting them know how to kind of handle this.
Yeah, I'm wondering what's the story there. The fact that I have a feeling they might be self-directing today. So many Wahoo teams out here. Director sportifs are in demand these days. I get the feeling, Nathan, just by so again, not selling them short. They've had an incredible ride, but it's been chaotic. It's been a lot of this out here today. They're still the best of the best.
Yeah, I wonder. It's a good question. Good question.
Doesn't it have the feel of talented athletes who are missing a conductor? It does to me.
Yeah, no DS today for the A2 ladies, we're being told, actually. I just got a message coming through. So there is no DS for the A2 ladies.
It's not a criticism at all. As a matter of fact, that director, that's the last thing. That the other teams are like, good, let's not give them a director. They don't need one.
They don't need one. They're winning by almost
They're killing us already.
Yeah, so let that go. As they do make their way around course, we're getting the splits come on in for the men's team. The men's side of things, as we are going to jump on in with them. The ladies finishing up. Williams is going to jump off the front with 6 watts per kilogram real quickly here. Patterson here with one last final sprint and an aero power up. Now on the other side of the screen here, Hagen out of Norway pushing the pace with an aero power up. Zach Harner on his wheel. And No Pins R3R trying to hold on to their current lead. Did they start in 30-second intervals? If they didn't, HDR is closing things down on them a little bit, actually. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out as the ladies just crossing the finish line there. And let's go ahead and jump on into the full screen images, though, for the men's side of things, as it does look like we got a race on our hands here between themselves and the rest of the field. And right now, the current standings, though, for this.
Let's take a look.
Yeah, we're going to get this up on screen here in just a second. As HDR, though, this looks scary here to me. If I were No Pins R3R, and look at how organized this is. These boys, I think, are on the chase.
Yeah, this is going to be, we've had some great racing out here today. Nathan, while you're getting that data, I'm going to quickly paint the picture for folks who are wondering, what are we looking at here? Well, this is the ZRL. We're into our 6th season now. This is a global racing league. There's over 10,000 athletes that participate in all of the different levels. And we try to highlight those A's, B's, C's, and D's. This is the A's that we're in with right now. This is, again, the highest level amongst those groups that we have. So we start racing in the APAC, and that's basically, that gets the day started about, it's the middle of the night here in North America that things get rolling, and it starts the day off. We're into the middle part of the day right now, but as we wrap up our Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and this is where you see incredible numbers of racers. Across the board, the numbers are great, but with the Europe, Middle East, and Africa, there's even more depth. We'll take a little bit of a break here this afternoon. The racing, though, picks back up with the Americas East and then over to Americas West, which we broadcast later in the day here in North America. It all depends on your perspective. But this is one of the Australian teams, AHDR, the Cheesecake Crew that we're with, Australian Hump Day Ride. This is the most international of all of the time zones. We've got racers from Europe, racers from Japan, Australia, obviously America. Nathan was talking about Norway as well. So this is quite a group that we've got here. They're out today in a team time trial race. Second race of the season. It's 29K, basically 2 laps on a very familiar course to most of our racers in London. This expansion world helped highlight the 2012 London Olympic Games and used so much of the great topography and highlights the unbelievable, one of the world's great capitals, London. So last week we had a straight up road race, scratch race, and No Pins R3R collected the most points amongst their 6 riders. You can see they end up, then you add all those points together and we create our final table on the race. And 20 points is what the winning team gets, 19 for second for team we got on screen right now, AHDR. Jet Racing Team, one of the Japanese squads, ends up in 3rd. And then you can see how the points all scored all the way down. It looks like electricspirit.co missed the start, but I believe we've got, I think I saw the orange jersey of electricspirit.co, team out of the United Kingdom, out here today. So I hope they were able to take the start in our team time trial as AHDR just coming up on the middle part of their race.
And moving back to Jet here as well. It looks like a little bit of a gap has opened up for Jet, the 3rd place currently overall. Scannilatori Seriali Magnetidays Elite coming in for that 4th place. They are trying to chase down this Jet team, but they've lost, I think, about 11 seconds to them. Looking really good, though, in the TTT formation right now. Interesting bike choices coming from this team right here with Bevilacqua. I hope I got that right there. Is he UCI Pro, it looks like, and on the Ribble bike, but I'm going to see what level Zwifter he is, because that bike choice here with the wheels is definitely an interesting one for a team time trial.
Yeah, and so I'm going to dig in I'm going to guess that that's just a level of experience thing, Nathan. If he had a chance to get a Tron bike, I think he would. So let's see how long he's been Zwift racing at esports with us.
Yeah, Mattia level 11, and he's
Yeah,
only
that's
been
pretty
doing
fresh.
the Zwift Racing League. It looks like he did the North Division all the way through February and is just jumping in for his first race in this season, actually.
So for perspective, we have a friend from Finland that made it to level 11 in about 3 hours of Zwifting, I think.
Something along those lines.
So
He's hanging out in chat as
yeah,
well. He can
right.
probably let you know exactly how long it took him.
Tapu is in chat.
Yeah, he's in chat. He's in chat. Tepo's here for sure.
I wonder how he probably doesn't remember because he wasn't charting every moment of that experience. But certainly that is a very fresh Zwifter, and actually, clearly, he's got some in real life chops, Nathan, to be jumping in and racing at this level, keeping his head above water with these guys. That's tough, no doubt. So he's got a lot of potential in esports. How much of a difference does that make?
Go ahead, Dave.
For folks, well, Nathan, just your perspective, being on a bike that is basically, that's like showing up on a $1,000 105 equipped bike that you bought at your bike shop, which still has the reflectors on it, even, versus being on a world-class time trial bike. How much of a difference does that rider feel out there?
I mean, I would say that it's more akin to...
It's tough to answer that,
I'd
isn't
say
it?
it's more akin to riding a entry-level race bike and a high-end race bike. I think it's more that. Yeah, entry-level race bike without the insanely light. You know, it's that point at which you hit that they start saying it's $1 a gram. It's kind of that difference at that point.
The point of diminishing returns. Right. And that's always a great question too, right? Like, could Tadej Pogačar win Tour de France if he was on a stock, a $4,500 bike that you could buy at a bike shop in America? Certainly a beautiful bike, and that's a privilege for you to not think that's absolutely incredible. But compared to the $25,000 bikes that the other guys are on, how much of it is the bike? That's always interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. And I think here in Zwift, I would say that's the difference rather than like being on like a Walmart bike versus, a top end bike. These bikes, they gain seconds, but not that big. Well, it's tough.
It's interesting.
Entry-level race.
Yeah.
Entry-level race. But when I say entry-level race, I mean Cat 5, Cat 4 entry-level race. That's what I mean. I'm not talking there is a difference. There's definitely a difference between these bikes. It's not Walmart bike difference, but it's definitely...
It might even be better to say something like it's like riding with 20 pounds too little pressure in one of your tires or something like that, as far as what the perceivable difference is. Let's take a look at some of the splits coming in, as this is going to be just really the midpoint of the race. We've got AHDR Cheesecake Crew, but that's for them, Nathan, significant. As that they weren't the top team, were they, at the start? I think that No Pins R3R is not having the day that they are looking for out here. Let's see if they can turn things around out there.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that as you do look at the Cheesecake Crew here right now. Wahoo Lacole A2 are coming in at the next spot. No Pins R3R have actually fallen down to 4th place at that 6K. Now, we don't have the next markers in just as of yet, but at the 14K marker, they've also lost a pretty good amount of time. No Pins are not having the day that they'd be looking for. And the truth is, I think that maybe this team really knows how to Zwift race when it comes to being first across a line, and perhaps we've just got some powerhouses coming out of Australia right now, as well as that electricspirit.co team and the Wahoo Lacole team here are just putting down big power here in the TTT.
Yeah, before we jump in with Wahoo Lacole, I'm going to take a look. Well, let's go ahead and see who No Pins R3R has to rely on out here. Today, it's going to be Chris Smart, Eric Haugen, who I noticed we've been following a bit today, Jesse Seaman, Liam Bard, Mark Steinley, Stephen Brierly, Will Loudon, and Zach Harner. That's the No Pins R3R team. Now, they're not out of it yet. We'll be updating these splits as well. We've seen some big changes happening in the back half of this race, so let's see if their schedule or their pacing is going to pay off for them. There's a lot of experience on this team, so I certainly wouldn't count them out, as that's the Jet team communicating amongst themselves. This is a team that's got a great energy to it. AHDR Cheesecake, though, the only team it looks like. Wahoo Lacole coming in with the second fastest time at that 14K split, which is, for all intents and purposes, the middle part of the course out here today, or halfway through the race is a good way to put it.
And I think there's a little bit of extra motivation here now that they do see it's within 30 seconds to close things down. This team may thinking, can we even catch that team up front, as Dumphy pushes a solid 6 watts per kilogram here, 450 watts to make that happen. HDR Cheesecake here. I always love the names coming out of these Australian teams. And Nozaki also in here, the lone Japanese rider, as well as Pinkerton coming out of the US of A. So 4 Australians and a couple from other parts of the world. Looks like Nozaki making his way to the front here for his term at 6.2, or maybe just closing things down as he looks to plug the hole here toward the front. No, he's going to take over at the front here, 45 kilometers per hour, and this little bit of a climb. It is a bump here, 3% gradient. This is a section, of course, I like to take over as well and really make
the
sure
stronger riders, yes,
carried over the top as you take the right.
That's the response
downhill.
Yeah, Nathan, I love to hear you say that. That's the responsibility of the stronger riders on the team, to hit the front at that critical point and keep the speed where you want it. Not so fast that you're blowing up the team, but not scrubbing off speed, not losing that momentum. And that's where experience really comes into play. Pinkerton is an interesting name. I'm reading a book right now about how the West was won, the Great American West, the expansion. And Pinkerton is a huge name as far as basically that was the law. The Pinkerton Company provided all the security for the train. And it's interesting to see that name. Obviously, I would think there's got to be some connection there. It's also great to see the rising sun, the Japanese flag, represented on so many different teams out here. As we're seeing more and more esports stars coming out of Japan right now. Is right on cue. Nozaki here for the team as they're bringing it on home. This is your fast team out here, and they are not backing off. They're staying on the gas right now as they are hightailing their way around London. We're going to be updating more splits, but again, fastest teams went out first, and the fastest of the fast right now is this well-drilled Australian Hump Day Ride Cheesecake crew, absolutely crushing it, Nathan. They don't even need to look in their rearview mirror right now.
Now, I do want to highlight how much the Wahoo Lacole team has really made up some time, though. They started, I believe, 6th out, 6 minutes back. There we go. The splits.
Yeah, they're having a great day.
We had a really long
they?
name
Wow.
in there, so it was pushing things back just a tad. Thank you, Martin, for the quick update on the data side of things. 17:58, but look at Wahoo Lacole jump up and contend with No Pins R3R. Jet Racing team on their heels by 17 seconds, but Wahoo Lacole starting 6 minutes back from 6th place, jumping all the way to 2nd place. I don't think the HDR Cheesecake crew is within striking distance, but they can hold on there. That's going to put them in a good position when it comes to the point standings at the end of the day.
Yeah, Nathan, curious, is there any way we could go back and look at the point standings after race 1, our scratch race, to open up season 3? Because Wahoo Lacole could move up significantly here. It was No Pins was the top team, so obviously we're going to see some reshuffling. Thank you. Oh, yeah. I mean, you can see that they could move at least 3 spots up here, the way things are going.
Yeah, Joe Chudik, a rider I race with fairly often in the A to A plus races. Watch out for him to be taking big pulls on the front. 5.1 watts per kilogram currently coming in from this rider right now. Solid. And on average is what he is doing. 5.1. That's right amongst the highest in this entire crew. The entire crew almost actually into the red, putting out what looks to be personal bests right now in here. We've got John Borton in here as well, Nigel Clark, I'm seeing, and Danielle Bazzoli, Adam Thorpe, and Bill Dobson making up this team. But Joe continues on the front, as I was saying, leading this team out to try and maybe chase down the AHDR Cheesecake Crew. But I think the Cheesecake Crew are just maybe just a little bit too drilled when it looked to. I mean, I am seeing this team's doing a great job with Thorpe on the front, 5.6. I mean, there's still a lot of landscape to work with here. It's a lot of seconds to make up, but if they get organized and put some solid power down, maybe HDR could have put out a little bit too much up front. We'll have to keep a close eye on that.
Bodes well for an incredibly exciting season, doesn't it? If you start to project out through what we could see, some different potential scenarios, this should be really, really good racing. There's multiple teams that are going to be in the mix, but this is a statement ride from Wahoo LaColle out here today. Clearly not having the day they were looking for to start the season, but they are back on it and in full effect right now. It looks to me like AHDR could become the top team after today's ride if they can hold on to the good work they've done here in the early going. We're into the final 9K of racing now for the Wahoo LaColle team. They've still got 6 riders together. They look motivated. It's 1 second. This is going to be interesting for everybody because
Nigel says help, like out loud in chat, is like, help me. Like that was too, like he went full gas at that. I love it. As obviously they are all in right now trying to get a W.
That's Nigel Clark. Yeah, good catch, Nathan. Nigel Clark is the rider that is pleading for help right now. That's about where we're at. Everybody's up to their eyeballs in lactic acid at this point. Adam Thorpe, Bill Dobson, Danielle Bozzoli, Joe Chodik, who Nathan was highlighting, and Tom Better, along with John Borton, who's been a cornerstone out here. That's Wahoo LaColle that we're looking at. Currently the second place team, but Nathan, it's only 1 second separating them from No Pins R3R. Watch out. I have a feeling R3R has remotivated, redoubling their efforts out here as we go in with Dumpy.
Oh my goodness.
Here.
Look at Dumpy again at 7 watts per kilogram just a moment. 553 watts. This guy is a powerhouse. And when you talk about just pure raw power to speed, it does matter on Zwift. This is...
Well, how do you lose with this guy? This is Australian Hump Day Ride's dream, right? They got a motorcycle leading them right now.
Seriously, Dumpy is a monster right now. James Dumpy, Urban Peddler, I see next to his name here. He's put up 4.5 watts per kilogram. Also, this team all in the red, putting out some personal best, 4.9, 5.0, 4.8, 4.7, 4.6. I mean, serious numbers now coming on in.
I'd like to highlight the technique right there as well. You see how he came off the front and was able to tuck back in nearly perfectly. Surgical from Dumpy there. After that massive effort, Nathan, he stops pedaling, comes off the front, and doesn't cause his team any bother as he reintegrates at the back of the group. That's pro level from Dumpy. That's why they're winning out here. These guys are not missing a step.
470 races, almost an A-plus rider. He's got an average watts per kilogram for 20 minutes at 4.98 watts. His first race was a Tour de Zwift Stage 6 way back in 2019. It looks like he's really gotten fit over the years here to really up that watts per kilogram as a racer. It seems like starting in that 4 to 4.5 range or so and has come up into being a almost A-plus racer. Dumpy here, powerhouse on this team. He has averaged almost 374 watts so far. Is what he's been pushing out. I mean, the guy, he's up in the 84.
He's a big dog, 84 kilo. Yeah.
Yeah. So that raw power is such a great train to have on the front.
Well, and on a course like this, this is exactly the prototypical rider. James Dunphy is who Nathan's been talking about. Jason Pinkerton is an American on this team. Josh McClellan is another one of the 4 Australians, Matt Burgess and Palace Tim. And then the Japanese rider, Naofumi Nozaki on Team AHDR, a command performance from this squad. I think they go on, Nathan, at this point with 4. Do they?
Yeah,
I think so. Either way, they can afford to go either direction.
They should. They really should. Take the downhill. I think these boys get on with the downhill, though. but I would not slow
And it
down at
doesn't-
this point. I would just continue on at this point. And if they can get on, they did. So good on them. This is a great chance right here on this downhill. But do not slow. Right now, this should have been 57 kilometers per hour. If I were leading this team,
It's
I would've
okay, though.
said-
They've got 30 seconds.
as a DS,
So
though, I'm a perfectionist, okay? If I were the DS, I would be on them saying that should have been. I would have been, that should have been. As a reminder, just to say, I know the speeds that can be held here at this point. They are winning at this point. I'm a stickler, though, when it comes to perfection and
So,
racing.
no, that's the point. I mean, if good enough is good enough, then so be it. But if we want to be the best, here's where we could be better, guys. I
Exactly.
completely hear you
That's
there.
all. That's
Right.
that, and they probably did. It does look like they slowed just a tad
But
to
you
make
know-
sure everybody was back together.
But you know my motto, close enough for government work, right? So.
You've been hanging out with Kate Bates. You've been hanging out with Kate Bates. The sprinter mindset. As little as I need to do until
Good enough.
bam at the line. Right.
Right, exactly. Well, Kate's saying is just enough, no more, I think. Right. So,
Jet, we
we'll
haven't
hear from
highlighted
Kate.
this whole team yet. I want to jump in with them because they are currently sitting
do it.
in third place. They are battling right now for that spot. And where is
Omizu?
Wahoo Lacole? Oh, yeah, they started so far back. That's why they've jumped so much. Interesting. So we have to
Yeah, they
wait a little while
started
longer.
6th.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did not have a great first race, but they're having a great race today. As a matter of fact, they've got their hands full. 28-41 is that split that I don't think that they're really that concerned about Cheesecake Crew. I think getting second place points is more realistic, and let's see what they can do out here because they're going to
Have
be
you
in a
ever
real
seen
battle
Iron
with
Giant?
no pins.
Have you ever seen Iron Giant?
I have not. Yeah, I have not. Sorry.
He's on the back. Like they got the Iron Giant, it looks like, on the back. I mean, it looks like the Iron Giant. I love it. We are one team for Jet here. Japanese esports team, it looks
This
like.
is-
I'm loving this. I'm absolutely loving that Iron Giant is on. I mean, it's probably not the Iron Giant because that would be a branding issue with Disney or whoever owns that. But it's absolutely awesome that guy's on there. Like, I love it.
You know, it's the Iron Giant or something. So but close. Imizu, Yaguchi, Inamini, Shimodi, and then the American Beatty and Kramer from Holland making up this Jet team. So Japanese with some international flair.
I gotta say, I'm with him on this.
That's
one
got to
too.
scare people.
Yeah, I'm going to turn that down a little bit.
Yeah.
But people are like, what just happened? Well, it's important what just happened. out
That's
here
the
because
Anna
these
Russell
boys-
Fashion Police. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm giving this an Anna Russell Fashion Police, okay, nicely done. They even have the headband, and I mean the socks. Everything's matching pretty well here across the board.
They're
And I think out
trying.
of everybody that I've seen so far, they've kind of stuck out a little bit here with this kit. So, and especially with the extra headbands, nice job of them on the fashion as they bring things in. They're holding on as best they can for a third place, I believe, right now overall in this with these splits.
Well, we're going to get
Oh,
down
Wahoo
to
Lacole
the
just came through though. Wahoo Lacole just came through, and they unseated that.
1
but,
second.
Whew.
1 second. So it's going to be a drag race to the line here in London, folks. No doubt about it. 1 second separating second and third. That very valuable point, Nathan. And it's interesting if you look, they're probably not worried about winning, and they don't really have to worry about being caught here. They can go all in on this one. Even if you blow up, you're not going to fall back to fourth unless it goes incredibly poorly, but that's really not likely. You can race your heart out here. What a battle between No Pins R3R and Wahoo Lacole. And No Pins has finished. They have come across the line. So that's our first team. Now, they started first. So AHDR should be the next team to finish. Wahoo Lacole won't be finishing for a few minutes here, as they were the 6th team to start.
Looks like in a mini, he a little bit of a sorry, but that's okay. He sacrificed himself, I think, in the final there, and they don't need more than 5 to the
That's
line. I have a feeling in the Discord they're saying, "No worries, don't worry about it. We got what we need to the line here. It's only about a K to go. Good job on doing your job out there." And Beatty now leading them out.
They're sitting in fourth on that split. They got to be worried about holding on to fourth as the Scanellatori Seriali Magnetic Days team. Boy, that rolls right off my tongue. It is 10 seconds off of that time from Jet Racing. So they got to press on. No doubt about it. Let's see if they've done enough out here. Finish line will come up pretty quickly. They're inside of 1K to go here, inside of 100 meters to go, I should say.
Yeah, and his BD now. One last little kick to the line. This is going to be for those milliseconds as he pushes 9 watts per kilogram at 181 beats per minute right now. Big 800, almost 1,000 watts. Nice sprint from the Jet team. Some of our final teams on the day for EMEA still making their way around. Oh, this is not looking good here. They've got 3, it looks like. Carmona off the back. They started with too many to lose this, so they've got to slow down now, and it is not going to be challenged. They're going to be challenged actually by Dirt Wolfpack because of this, because Carmona has to cross this desert at this point, and he's actually on, this rider, it looks like, probably just jumped into the deep end. This whole team seems to be jumping into the deep end.
We've had a few riders like this. Again, my heart goes out to him, as this is, you can tell by the bike here that this is a very fresh Zwifter racing at a very high level. So credit where credit is due, not for a lack of courage. Team's going to send some riders back
for
to
him.
try and
You
help.
see that?
And then,
yeah.
All right, could have gone a little bit better, but one thing's for sure, when you can find a new strong teammate like this, he'll get the experience, he'll get the equipment underneath him, and you've got something to work with.
Yeah, level
Is that a
11,
Colombian flag?
Level 11 Zwifter coming out of Colombia, actually. Yeah. So, I mean, super fresh. He's going to get dragged to the line here. Finelli helping him out. Good on him. I like that.
Yeah.
Love it that there's some teamwork going on here and trying to hold on to that 6th place overall. I think Dirt Wolfpack, though, they're going to get a little bit of benefit from this.
We'll see. Final results will tell us the story as we wrap things up out here. More teams coming across the line. As a matter of fact, it's going to be pretty quick here that we'll be able to jump in and start looking back on the results. A lot of racing still ahead of us today, as we've got America's East coming up in a few hours, then America's West to wrap up day 2, race 2 of season 3 of the 2022 ZRL. Swedish Swifters
team, look at them. This is the team we were talking about. They're coming on so hot trying to catch Swedish Swifters here at this point. They were in 6th. They just had a really rough day, I think, when it came to that first race, because this is a team I would have expected a lot more from, and not be sitting all the way down in 6th place here. So Joe Chuduk now, Carl Taselli is trying to hold them off. Really well known.
I have a feeling.
SZ team.
We love Carl. Yeah, one of the cornerstones of Swedish Swifting esports. I have a feeling that you're going to see Wahoo Lacole move up into the top 3 after we score today's race overall. So I think they made a big jump, did themselves a real favor with an incredible team time trial here today. That's going to be Swedish Swifters finishing. This is Wahoo Lacole coming across the line. Not only do they finish strong with a great time, they've got 6 riders at the line, Nathan. Not many teams are going to do that, but of course Dirt will as well. to ruin my point. Yeah.
Martin, Oberman, Raul, all making their line. Casket is riding. Good to see. This is a rider from WTRL that I race with often. He almost every single week does the KISS 100 European division. So when I do my midnight race after the kids all go to bed and I need to get it in, and it's like, well, it's the only time I can do this between Saturday and Sunday, Gasket is almost always there. Great to see him out here right now, hammering away in and amongst this A crew for the WTRL team.
All right, and this is going to be, so WTRL Skyweb is the squad that we've got. They're trying to catch the Swedish Swifters team that just came across the line here. We're pretty close to done and dusted, actually. Just about everybody's going to bring this across the line after a big day of team time trial racing out here in London. Casquette is the rider that we're with.
His real name, Tom Waitley, is what he's got on over on Zwift Power, but always has Casquette in game. Very good, just strong FTP rider. Can hold a threshold for a long time. No wonder he's got a TT bike or on his main profile over on Zwift Power. Dirt making their way to the line now as well as they're into the final 300 meters.
So I thought the word casquette sounded familiar. It is a peaked cotton cap traditionally worn by road cyclists. So if you
Oh
think back
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah,
Fausto
yeah. That makes
Coppi type
sense.
hat, right, right. Or Louis Saint-Bobet, maybe to
He
be
better
more.
have one on. He's got one on. Not incorrect. Am I
There you
right?
go.
Yeah, that's got to be it, right?
Yeah. Well, he's doing the best that he can with what he's got here. That is the cyclist cap for sure. He needs some bobby pins so he can perch it up on top of his head and be as unaerodynamic as possible. So, like the cheesemaker hat or the cheese
So
seller
what's the
hat or
battle here
whatever.
that we're looking at? We're looking at Wahoo Lacole versus No Pins R3R men, really. That's really where it's at. It's not going to be a win outright coming from sixth place, I wouldn't think, unless they really faded HDR. But it looked like HDR were able to pull something special off out here today as well. Skyrocket there, Skywave, excuse me, coming in currently ninth place with the splits, trying to hold off SDW, and also chasing the Dirt Wolf Pack, who just finished. We'll start getting into our results. We'll take a look at the women's situation, how that played out that we just watched, and then we'll jump into the men's North Div 1 women's results up next here, as well as the results of what we see playing out here in front of us. That Wahoo Lacole team, though, really almost unstoppable out there today. Very, very impressive when it came to coming to the line. WTRL are presenting organization and now their team across the line, finishing up as they're going to get their cooldown. Interesting that I'm not seeing, it's not like there's a million people here, Dave. Usually, there they are.
Yeah.
There they are. There they are. I was like, where
further.
is everybody? Where is everybody? It's a little bit of
They're over
downhill.
by Dave Towle's lemonade stand is set up right over here on your left. Right. Actually, what it would be, recovery shakes would be better, I guess, to be selling, right? Although, who wants a recovery shake 2 minutes after you finished up a team's time trial? Well, let's take a look at those results. Nathan, as you were saying, it was an incredible day of racing, and this was one of the races that we enjoyed amongst many. Is Wahoo Lacole. It wasn't pretty, but they delivered, and it wasn't even in question out there. That's how good these ladies are. Wahoo Lacole, the gold standard, with a 40-13. 49 seconds later, it was Team Italy, presented by Castelli, coming through to take the silver. This is in our women's EMEA North Division 1As. Roca Corba Collective A in third, Electric Spirit Co. Chanticleer fourth, and Zedbro Pirenihihi in fifth, WTRL Firestorm sixth, and Draft CRL. They round out our top 7 teams there for the ladies.
Yeah, and really the only difference here, it looks like across the standings, is going to be that Roca Corba able to bump themselves up a little bit, it looks like, as well as I think Firestorm made a good move out there as well. I think SZ not taking the start from what I can see. Too bad to see, but let's go ahead and head on over to the B category, as it's going to be Team NL Ladies taking it down by over a minute. Nice job to them. Kirchner WB1W. Wild Bees coming on through for second place. And then at 132, back from the win, Aeonian Belazimas. And then TFC Shuri in fourth. It's going to be Roca Corba Collective B in fifth. And Sports Solid Women B1 coming on through for sixth place, 358 back from the win.
Let's see how it went for the C's out here today in our EMEA North Division 1. And it was Galaxy Supernova Velocity taking the win with the 44-42. Team CLS, the Chick Diesels in second, silver medal for them. AVC Mount Virgin in third. That's bronze. It's Rave Against the Machine in fourth. VCRT Vislas C in fifth. WCC Infernos 2 for sixth place today. 7 went to Roca Corba Collective C. And rounding out your top 8, it was Sports Solid Women's C numero uno, number 1 there in 8th.
And in the D category is going to be WTRL Dino Yellow Sox for the women's EMEA North Division 1Ds. Vegan Dragons are 35 seconds back, followed up by WTRL Cyclone. Galaxy Cosmic Blast in fourth, 123 back. Fear Not, fifth place, coming on in at 245 back. Adam Racing Team Zwiftaroos in sixth. Herd of Chinstrap Penguins. They battled it out. 7-second difference between them in that D category. Always awesome to see, Dave. across all the categories, all these really tight battles week in and week out. One of the best things about these teams versus
What it's all
teams and
about.
why it's so successful, actually. When
I agree.
does come to this. Let's take a quick look at the standings. I want to just take a look at how things played out here for the standings as Wahoo Colt. They continue to dominate, it looks like, and hold on to that top spot.
Yeah, the real thrill is in the competition, not necessarily in the victory, right? Having people to battle against is the name of the game. So electricspirit.co sitting there tied with Roker Korba. Then just behind them, NZ Bro the Puranihihi. So it's going to be an interesting second. Well, we're not even into the second half of the season. Just getting things going here, completing race 2 of season 3.
Yeah, nice job.
So that's the
Wahoo
women.
Colt dominating here. Now in the men's race here, mixed men's EMEA North Div 1 that we just saw finish. HDR Cheesecake Crew, they do actually extend that lead that we saw from them. No pins R3R, they held on. Wow, did they come through? So I'm actually a little surprised. I thought that Wahoo Lacole had really pulled
Look
it
how
off
close,
out here
though.
today. 1 second.
Only a
difference.
second. Yeah, wow.
I mean, it's not like they
Well,
didn't pull something special off. They were all the way down in 6th, but I mean, no pins R3R. I think they kind of rallied at the end.
they did, no doubt. Man, that was close. So it's going to be AHDR riding to the gold medal today. The Cheesecake Crew in full effect. No pins R3R men. Good for silver. So close. Wahoo Lacole rode their hearts out today for 3rd. Jet Racing Team for 4th. Electricspirit.co. Sling in 5th. Scanalatori Seriali Magnetic Days in 6th. It's SZ Balder in 7th. That's the Swedish Zwifting team. Dirt Wolfpack 4 in 8th. WTRL Skyweb 9th. And that's going to be SDW Abispa rounding out our top 10 for the Division 1A EMEA North. Back to you, Nathan, for the Bees.
And with the B category, the Dirty Beast Behemoths come on in 39.15. Racing Without Borders, Emerald Flyers, 43 seconds back for 2nd. Valhalla Legbiter at a 117 back in 3rd. WKG Bombers in 4th. Foudre Bouddha in 5th. It's going to be Galaxy Atomic Blast in 6th. Herd of Pacing Palominos in 7th place at 139. Tight racing actually here in this Division 1B for North. EMEA. Rafa RCCB1 there coming on through in for 8th place. In the C's,
let's see what we've got here as it's Team NLC Elite. Good time, 42.10 for the win. Racing Without Borders, the Green Dragons taking 2nd today. 3rd place going to ART Atomic Racing Team and the Mighty Isotopes. It's Coalition Vector for 4th. That's your C's here in Division 1 EMEA North.
and I think most are finishing up still out here today for the rest of that category. Let's go ahead and we are going to be back at you in just a few hours here, and 3.5 hours, a little less than 3.5 hours for the Zwift Racing League presented by WTRL America's East and then America's West with Kate Bates. And Dave is going to hang out for the rest of the day. It's great racing out here, Dave. What do you what I've seen play out so far is a lot of like going out a little bit too hot, maybe, or like we have seen some changes. It isn't just like the same team has stayed out front the entire time throughout the entirety of the day. Sometimes you just see teams that just kind of walk away with it. We did have a couple of those, but we did see some change-ups throughout the course with how hard people had went out and then weren't able to kind of hold on to that. And the negative splits really paying off for some of these top teams today.
Yeah, it's certainly having a schedule, sticking to that schedule. It's critical out here. What's my takeaway has been how competitive all of these different divisions are. And it's not just the A's, B's, C's. You see a lot of these races coming down to less than a second or a couple of seconds. And when you think about that's over 29K, shows you how evenly matched these teams are. And always a good reminder to be showing up on Thursdays for WTRL's Team Time Trial. If you want to get better at this discipline, you've got to put the time in.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with that. You did see that the teams that were familiar with the TTT that we commentate on a regular basis, it kind of felt like,
shine.
oh yeah, we know this team. They know what they're doing here. And they really did bump it up in the results, even from places that we saw them lower down throughout the divisions we covered today. All right, don't go anywhere, everybody. Well, go somewhere for about 3 hours, and we'll see you for the
I'm going to go somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. America's East is coming at you, though, in 3.5 hours or so. Make sure to hit those follow buttons, turn in your reminders, like and comment. It helps out the channel a ton. We'll see you there for that. Head over to WTRL.racing for all of the rest of the results across all of the divisions, all of the categories. And as always, everybody, good job. Right on.